Here we go, Stuart.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stuart Sayger, and I'm here to talk about my 20 years of drawing comic books, from G.I. Joe to Transformers to the Joker to Lego Bionicle. You're here with us on Splash Pages.
Of course, is the one obvious thing.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. You are watching Splash Pages. My name is Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have an amazing show scheduled for you as always. And with us, we got Carrie. How's it going?
Going good, everybody. How are you guys doing? We're drinking tonight. Ratatosker's got himself some fun little rum here. I've got myself a glass of wine. We have a very sophisticated guest, so Ratatosker's kind of slumming it, but doing great. Excited for the guest. Somebody who met at Terrificon, and I got a chance to talk to, and I have a book signed from, and all sorts of exciting things. And hi, Tom Dog. How's it going? Let's see how Drew's doing.
I'm good. I just ate my. I'm sorry. Harry challenged me to make sure that I could eat all of my dinner through our intro. So I've never eaten chicken and rice and beans so quickly in my life. Give me a second.
Jeez.
One second.
So professional, Drew. So
Shut up. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Splash Pages. I'm Drew. Thank you so much for joining us. And you might be noticing that we're down in person. Our co-host Jar Jar Jeremy decided to take a little sabbatical to find, and he's on a trip to Castle Grayskull. So we don't know what that means, but we miss him, and he's still with us. And I'm sure he'd have some wonderful deadpan reaction like, "Oh, hi, welcome to Splash Pages. I'm Jeremy, and we're going to have a great show." And I would say, "We are, buddy, and you're still with us in spirit." But with much to do, I've got my whiskey. I've got my water, because hydration is important, kids, especially after a certain age. And we also have a great guest. Like Carrie said, we met him at Terrificon, and he's had quite a career, 20 plus years drawing characters from Batman to people on a doomed ship in the sea in a tragic story about a strange European local. Despite his content, which ranges from terrifying to whatnot, he's actually a really nice guy, very personable. So everybody, the great, the bespectacled, the good-humored, the one, the only, Mr. Stuart Sayger.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. Now, I want you guys to know I'm participating too, but I am sticking with the San Pellegrino, which is fancy water. But
no, that's fine.
I'm here. I'm here to participate.
No, you're doing good. Welcome. Enjoy.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah. There you go. That guy's ready. This guy's ready to party. You know. So
Actually, Drew, before we get started, I just figured let's kick it off talking about Terrificon. Like, since we did meet you there, how was Terrificon for you?
For me or for Drew?
Oh, I had a great time. I was in a red suit. I was giving Stuart water all the time. He was so hydrated. It was one of those where I kept looking at him like, "Are you good?" And he was like, "I'm good. I'm good."
It was good.
Yeah.
That was the first year I'd done Terrificon, and I had heard about it for years and years. I'd wanted to go. It was just a matter of me sort of having the right opportunity, not being already booked. But Mitch was very nice. I ran into him. I met him in person at the Baltimore Comic Con the year before. I was actually at talking to Garcia Lopez, name drop, at his booth. And Mitch heard Garcia Lopez say my name, and he said, "Are you Stuart Sayger?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "I've been trying to find you." And I thought, well, I'm right here at Garcia Lopez's booth, but he extended me the invitation, and it took about 2 seconds for me to agree to go to the show. Really cool show. I always kind of feel like there are 3 shows that are really related to one another in this industry, depending on exactly what you want to collect. But Heroes Con, Baltimore Comic Con, and Terrificon, those are the 3 shows that are really about old comic books, comic book artists. That's it. It's not overloaded with T-shirts or video games or anime, which I like those things. But if you want an intense comic book experience that's old comics and art, those are the 3 places to be.
I totally agree. It's a lot of Comic Cons are taking the comic out of Comic Con. It's all about celebrities and stuff. And, you got to remember why we're there,
They're really great. I had a wonderful time. So I was actually in Baltimore this last weekend, and it was good. They really are very similar. And to that end, there were so many people I saw at Terrificon who, I knew I was going to see them up later in Baltimore. And after you get a few shows like that sort of have this own culture, there are some people you start to see 4, 5, 6 times a year, and it's sort of like a little family. It's kind of nice.
So because we're always looking to expand and consider different cons, would you recommend like going to Baltimore? Like if we were interested trying to get a table at Baltimore, would you recommend that, Stuart?
You guys, I love that show. You guys will have a blast there. If you like Terrificon, absolutely, Baltimore's great.
Oh, okay, good.
Absolutely. They've done it. I think it's been around for 25 years. And they always have a souvenir book, really high quality, full color hardcover souvenir book that focuses on some sort of creator-owned project in the industry. I know they've done Scary Godmother in the past. This year it was The Tick. And then they get, I don't know, 50, 60, 100 different new pinups just for that book.
Oh, okay.
Really cool.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay. That is cool. Okay, no problem. That sounds freaking awesome. I've always wanted to go. Every year something always comes up and I'm like, damn it. And they always have such amazing guests, and each time I'm like,
oh, I mean, listen, I just this last year, I didn't even get around to the whole room this year, but I mean, regular guys that I see there are, like I said, Garcia Lopez is always there. Joe Staten, Adam Hughes, Frank Cho.
right.
It just goes on. Jim Starlin was there. I have to go that far down the list before I get to Jim Starlin. Oh, Jim Lee was there this year.
Right.
It's
yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool. A lot of times if you go to a show, you look at the guest list and maybe if you guys really want to see, if 1 or 2 of them cancel, then it can really break your heart. At that show, if something horribly goes wrong and your top 5 guys can't make it, there's still so many quality guests. And me.
So it sounds like, Stuart, you've been in the industry 20 years, you've been doing it. So, it sounds like you, again, not just a creator in it, but you're also a fan. So did you get to meet anybody in your time that you were just like, oh my, like you fanboyed out yourself? You're like, wow. Like,
yes and no. So I never really suffered much of the, the stardom effect to meet, these guys that you wanted to meet for so long. But I mean, I met so many people. I met Stan Lee. I really got to know Neil Adams really, really well. He was my childhood hero growing up. Alice Cooper. I've met most of the Star Trek captains. I will tell you, I think one of my favorite stories relates to these guys, and I didn't meet either of them, but I was at a show in I think it was Wizard Philadelphia, way back when. Chris Helmsworth and Chris Evans, Captain America and Thor, Well, so those movies were just getting started, and
Okay.
those guys were the thing. And all I heard about were how many girls wanted to meet those guys, right? And so that's fine, and I believe it because they're celebrities and they were the hot shots. Well, it just so happened that from my booth, I saw the two of them walking down the hall, just sort of talking about the show. They weren't at their booth; they were just in street clothes doing their thing, and people noticed who they were. And I literally saw a girl walk into a pole from checking them out. It was like an Archie comic book where it was
Right.
like, somebody falls down the manhole because they're checking somebody out. Literally, I saw this girl walk into this pole, and I just thought, man, those guys really have got like the charm, and you can do that.
Right.
And I was so glad I got to see it. But stuff like that, it really only happens at a con.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
kind of love that.
And it's funny you say that because I was at Wizard World Philly. I think it was like pre-pandemic, so it must have been like 2016, 2017, and that was around that time Avengers: Infinity War would just come out, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, the events of that." And I don't know if you know the show Parks and Rec.
Just a little, yeah.
Yeah, so I was Chris Pratt's character, Andy Dwyer. But later on, he has a costume identity, which is Burt Macklin, who's an FBI agent and everything. So I was walking around as that character, cosplaying that. But I had a sign, and he has a quote, and it says, from the bottom of my heart, my bad. So I spent the whole time at the con walking around with that sign. I just kept apologizing to Avengers.
Of course. That's what people forget. So cosplay, when I was first started doing these shows, cosplay really meant cosplay. You had to stay in character. Other people walk around and they say, I'm not cosplaying. I'm in costume.
Right.
But I'm not cosplaying.
Right.
I think that part got overlooked during the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can kind of tell. I think it's the people that they're so committed to the character, they just stick to the script. And I feel like the people who really have the fun with it can just easily still be in character and just, they can just, take whatever. And I just remember this one Captain America, I kept apologizing. He had no idea who the fuck I was. I was just like, Cap, I'm really sorry. It was my bad. I just met my girlfriend's dad for the first time. There were bubbles. I lost my mind. I'm sorry. Like, please, I'm so sorry. Everybody's dust now. It's a Kansas song out there. We're all just dust in the wind. And and my friend was just looking at me. He was like, he has no idea who the fuck you are, by the way. And I'm just like, what matters is you were there. And like, oh no, this was fucking hilarious. But he had no idea. So he's just like,
you needed to go on to another Captain America.
I did. And it's funny, I found a Star-Lord and we were like, well, why did we do this? I hope I know there's a part 2. Let's get redemption. And we're like, it's fine. James Gunn will do right by us. So, but Wizard World is always really solid. It's a great con. So
I miss them. I'm not joking. I remember when they came onto the scene. Truly, they were, there was such a they were this big like rush of glitz that conventions didn't have before then. I remember, I think their first show was either Chicago 2000 or 2001, right around there. And I remember going to it, and this seems kind of funny to say now, but one of the things that I think Wizard really did that was kind of great for the comic book convention world was they really just made everything look very serious and professional in a way that I don't think we had gotten a lot of before. I remember going to Wizard shows and everything was a printed sign. There were logos on things. There were big displays to let you know where you were supposed to go, what you're supposed to be. And it just kind of, when nothing's handwritten anymore, you really understand everybody's taking this seriously. I can remember it just sort of made everything seem professional. We hadn't had a lot of that. San Diego was big, but a lot of people couldn't make it to San Diego. But once that Chicago show rolled out, and then Wizards started to add more and more, there was a brand identity. I don't even remember people saying, are you going to conventions? I remember people just saying, are you going to Wizard? I mean, they really sort of standardized something. That was a big deal. Yeah, there, I just thought I'd throw that out. But,
no, totally.
I'll say this, going back to your question, as far as who were some people I met that really, had the wow factor. I think the thing that was kind of neat about it is, and there aren't any names that come to mind immediately is like really just sort of blowing me away. Neil was my guy, and I wanted to meet him.
Right.
And I did get to meet him. I took a deep breath because I know that he can be a strong flavor, but we got along swimmingly. And anytime I saw him at a show, we talked. But, I remember one of the first times I saw Steranko, and Steranko was talking to a fan who just happened to have a deck of cards in their pocket. And Steranko saw it. I said, "What are you doing with those deck of cards?" And you guys know Steranko did a lot of magic. Steranko took this guy's deck of cards and very impromptu started doing magic tricks.
Whoa.
Well, yeah, and very good magic tricks. And it was really neat. The thing I kind of loved about it was, like, you realize that guy's just such a showman. I mean, he's got that look. His art is really strong. And he just sort of held the audience. It's things like that you don't really expect that I think are kind of what I love most. I grew up a Micronauts fan. I got to meet Michael Golden. So I know Michael Golden these days very well. And Golden's great. Golden is absolutely awesome. But, you go to a show, you get to meet these people. And for the most part, right away, they're people, right? I mean, you realize they're people. There are just a few of them like Steranko that just have this sort of sparkle. They're a little different.
Yeah. And I think the thing that's sometimes important is you have to kind of separate that because, they're, like you said, they're people too. And sometimes they have bad days. And, while I'm not really an advocate for someone having a bad day and they take it out on a fan who, spent money to meet them or said such, like, that's not fair to the fan. But I feel like sometimes you should take that into context. It's like you hear a bad story, for me, I'm like, oh, that's really sad. But the writer brain in me is like, well, what did you, how did you approach them? What did you say? And I'm not accusing you. I just want to get the facts. So if it really is you were a nice person and they just were just a jerk, I'm like, well, I'm really sorry you had that experience.
You never. It's first of all, you never can know the whole story, right? You don't know what happened the 5-6 hours before. I do remember a friend of mine told me that he met Michael Turner, and he said, I said, yeah, how was the experience? And I'd met Michael Turner a couple times, and I'd never heard anything from anybody regarding Turner other than he was just the most outgoing guy, period. And this guy, my friend, said, yeah, he wasn't that way to me. And he described the situation. He said he kind of signed my book and pushed it back to me. He didn't really talk that much. And I remember saying, well, where and when was this? And I figured it out. There was one year at Pittsburgh where Turner signed the day before he had to go in and have surgery, and he was in a lot of pain. And he was still at the show, right? And so my friend thought that Turner might have been maybe a little bit unsocial. What he didn't know was that, he was giving absolutely everything he had. No one else would have actually been there doing that, but Turner was that invested. And I'm so glad that I got to say, well, let me tell you what you didn't know.
Right.
But we've all had bad days, and I don't know. I'm very fortunate to have the fans I have. I'll tell you this. Here's my outlook on this. I was at a Kiss convention. I did 27 covers for the comic book Kiss rock band, and I was asked to be a guest at a convention of theirs. And so one of the guys who was there was Mark Slaughter. If you guys know who Mark Slaughter is, he's from the band Slaughter. Yeah. And he had 2 pretty good radio hits. And at the show, he performed one of them. And I asked him, I said, with all due respect, you've been singing these songs to fans for 30 years now, and they love them. But for you, it's been 30 years. How do you summon the energy to make it fresh, to keep it meaningful, to not get tired of it? And he gave me what I thought was awesome, great advice. And he said, however big the audience, big or small, there's always somebody in the audience who's really into it. And I just find the person who's really enjoying it, and I play it for them. And their energy, I sort of focus on them. Their energy, drives me, and I drive them. And he said, the funny thing is, I may have done it, 100 times, but this is the first for them. Right. That's what I kind of always try to remember, and I think about this if I do a comic book convention. I've been to comic book conventions where, they've got my name up and they treat me like a big star. And I've also been at some where, there are 100 million stars before me, that much bigger names than me, Bernard Perez Miller, those kind of guys. Right. But, you never know which fan came there to see you and has your book in their backpack and, walk past those guys. I'm probably not going to get the line Chris Claremont has, but I was next to him at Terrificon, and there were guys who walked past him to see me who wanted to talk to me about Bionicle. Right. So you're there from time to time. You get to be that guy for somebody.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone has a story, you know. I mean, again, that's that's another reason why. Again, I was like, "When are you free?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, you could just come really early." I'm like, "Oh, we can do early."
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
you know, like literally, I think Carrie, if I'm right, we were interviewing Mark Wade, and we just walked like right from interviewing Mark Wade, just right to you. Like, "You good, Stuart?" And he was like, "Yeah, we're good." All right, Carrie, go. You know.
Yeah,
Why not? Well, first of all, you
we
guys
had
don't
a
ask me about comic books, which I had to be able to shoot from the hip on. You know, you didn't ask me to take a trigonometry test. There's no brushing up for this. I just go.
Oh
well,
yeah.
and then you and I got into this great conversation about Goya afterwards, and we had to cut it short because we were really undermanned. We had like 4 of us, and we needed to have the booth and 2 panel goers at each time. So, and somebody to run batteries and bathroom breaks and everything else. So it was like as soon as the panel started, we had to go.
And
And
you know the weird thing about that is
but it was
that is like the 3rd or 4th convention in a row that I had a conversation about Goya. I don't know how Goya keeps coming up. I'm not kidding. It's my wife's probably in the other room laughing because she says, "Yes, what is it about Goya in this household?" But um, I actually want to do this at one of these comic book conventions when I have enough time to plan it out. The show promoters will always ask if you'll do a panel. Do you have any ideas for a panel? And I really want to do one of comic book creators talking about old master painters.
Yo, that would be
I
awesome.
would love that.
Yeah, I would love it too. And believe me, I can talk all day about it.
Listen, if you do that, like if you get to next year's Terrificon, Carrie will talk to Mitch about moderating that. She'll be like, "I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's go."
I'll happily do it. The funny thing is, I've asked a couple comic creators if they're interested in doing it. And sometimes they get a little bit, a little leery. But if I narrow it down and I say, "What if we just talk about Rembrandt?" Then they usually say, "Okay, I know Rembrandt. We can do that." So as long as it's not too big and wide. My thing is, I don't want to bore the audience. I mean, they might be amused by how wound up I am by some of this stuff. But here's the thing: almost everybody who draws comic books these days, they draw comics because of their love of comics. Well, we learn to love comics when we're very young. We learn to love art when we're very young, and hopefully our interest in art and comics grows and grows and grows. And at some point, you will put all the pieces together, and you'll see the connection between, Manet and who would rhyme with Manet? Jim Mooney. I don't know, but all these, every artist looks at every other artist and learns something if we can. So you look at history paintings by somebody like Peter Paul Rubens and the big heroic actions. That's what Avengers comics are. I mean, there's a link between these two.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
that's my plug for my panel.
Yeah, I'm about to say, Stuart, start brainstorming now. You got a year. Let's go.
Work it.
Yeah. Get the slides ready. You're like, okay, next slide. Okay, good.
You've got the Conan thing going now, so that's got a lot of artist history behind it with historical artist type of influences.
Conan is rich. So, yeah, one of my favorite shows to go to each year is the Windy City Pulp and Paper show, and Conan for a lot of us is a comic book character, but for everybody who's been around longer, well, he's a pulp character, and he's got a longer history than Superman ever dreamed of having. And if you go to something like Windy City Pulp and Paper, you can see how big and broad Robert E. Howard is.
Absolutely.
I wish I could remember all the highlights of it, but I had dinner with Jim Shooter about 2 years ago. It was this great dinner at the Hall of Heroes convention, and he was really telling me just how big Conan really was for Marvel. I mean, I think Conan #1 is 1970, and Roy Thomas writes it, but I'd grown up working in a comic shop and got the job in 1983, and the real heyday of Conan is the 70s, right? So I'm 13 in 86. So I've missed this, but I've just sort of caught the echoes of it. I think this comic book people don't realize just how big Conan was within comics in the 70s. And to that point, there was a period where I think Conan was carrying more titles than Spider-Man was, if you count the magazines. Right? I mean, his circulation numbers were through the roof. You can look at the Mego action figures and see which characters they made. It's like, It's got all the Marvel heroes and the DC heroes, and then Conan, who was licensed. I'm glad it's doing well. Again, I'm glad that it's back, but I think comic book people, if you weren't around in the 70s, you just don't know.
Well, I think, what's really impressive is that, these characters, which feel very kind of pulp, very niche, like you think Conan, you think The Shadow, you think Solomon Kane, even somebody like Jonah Hex, they're up from a specific era of comics. And you would think, oh, the cowboy era is gone. The warriors, like Conan, are gone. Even characters like Solomon Kane, who's just like this, kind of pure, old-fashioned Puritan paranormal investigator kind of thing. You wouldn't think that but they have a huge audience, and their stories are still even The Shadow is still a great audience, where there occasionally stories still pop up. So, like you said, it feels very niche, but they have that audience who still follows them, and it's crazy to think that, again, like, their quote unquote heyday is gone, but they're still
They're
kicking.
big, and it's funny because I have a list of those type of characters in my head that I know guys who just love them. Flash Gordon is not a pulp character, but Flash Gordon, his first strip is, I think, January 7th, 1934. So he beat Superman by about 4 years.
Right.
Most of what happens in DC in the first couple of years is largely influenced by Flash Gordon. And I still love Flash Gordon.
Of course.
I grew up on the 1979 Flash Gordon Filmation cartoon. And, I mean, if you come see me at convention, I can draw Princess Aura out of my head. This stuff, comic books don't never exist in a vacuum, although we kind of treat them like they do. And I know that's true because comic book people, I mean, look, if you even look at the way we store our comic books, there's such a displeasure or distaste against a comic being magazine sized. The comic book people often just stay in their lane. But these things all reference each other. We don't have comic books without the characters you're discussing. And to that end, if you ever want to go to a really cool show, try the Windy City Pulp and Paper show. It is not a comic book convention. There are a lot of comic books there.
Right.
And again, a boy, I see Steranko every year. He's there and he's shopping more than he is signing. I'm not kidding. But that's a show that shows you all the things that come before comics and really, tells you how they all connect. And I love that show because I know a lot about comic books, but I can go to that one. And there's a lot I don't know about in that room. And the guys who go to that are diehard. You will learn a lot at that show. Small show. Yeah, they're absolutely fantastic.
And you lucked out when you were. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But you totally lucked out when you were younger because your parents were into antiques and dealing them, so you got to go and like hit all the estate sales and stuff and just be like, oh yeah, I'm getting all these old comic books for a lot less than I would have to pay going and hitting the brand new stuff on the stands. So
I mean, that's my secret weapon. When people always ask me how I got into this industry or, how I learned to draw, I mean, I was telling them my secret weapon was my parents, and my parents liked art. That sounds like a simple thing to say, but I mean, I had friends whose parents, I could tell they didn't think much of it. They never drew. My parents I remember one time they went to a garage sale when I was about 5 years old, and they bought a box of colored pencils. And it's really a fond memory of mine. I can remember it was summertime. We didn't have air conditioning and the windows were open and it's late at night. And my parents were drawing cartoons in bed to sort of amuse each other, silly things, while Steve Martin was wearing that white suit on Saturday Night Live.
Nice.
It was like, that doesn't seem like a big deal, but those are creative people. And they really liked antiques. I went to a lot of shows when I was young. Typically, I remember buying a lot of comic books off the spinner rack that were 40 cents. But if you went to a flea market or any kind of used goods show, you could buy old comic books for a dime. I bought a lot of comics from Dragon's Lair out of Ohio, which would come and do antique shows in Indiana for a dime. I remember I really was into Nick Hardy Teen Titans when I was about 10. And I dug deep, and I think I paid 40 cents, which was the same price as the new comic for Teen Titans #2, the 1960. Is it? Well, it's not 1960, 64, 65 issue. But that's what I wanted, but I had access to it. And I had parents who, got it and supported it. I remember wanting some old comics, and we would go to a show like that, and my dad would throw me a couple bucks, and it would be, spend it wisely. And that meant I could go buy, if I only had $1, I could buy 10-cent comics. Or if I said, no, here's this, old Batman I really wanted that was, a 10-cent, Batmite cover, it might be 75 cents. But if that's what I wanted, there wasn't any sort of, discussion that, hey, you shouldn't be paying 75 cents for a comic book. They got it. So incredibly fortunate for that. Even to this day, when I see my parents, I love talking to them about art. Just, they always say they don't know anything, but they know a ton. If you grow up in a household where you handle this stuff and your livelihood is based on, a lot of this is going to seep into you. And I remember when I was trying to break into the comic book industry, my parents, what they sold mostly were lamps, lighting. Okay. My first portfolio review, you wait in line, and it used to be at a convention, there would be editors and you would wait in line and you could get a review. My first review was from Bob Schreck, who had just been hired by DC, and this was just before they handed him Batman.
Right.
And you should make, what should you make? Sample pages, all the things that Marvel and DC be publishing. So, Green Lantern, Spider-Man, Batman. Well, I made Witching Hour sample pages, and DC hadn't published Witching Hour for, 20 years, 30 years at this point. But I always liked horror. I always liked that era of comics. I always wanted to draw things that were more naturalistic. When you draw Witching Hour, you're not drawing a new modern house. You draw an old broken, Victorian house if you wanted. And Shrek was going through my pages, and I had one panel that was the interior of a library, and in the back, not a big deal, in the scene was a panel lamp, which is usually stained glass that's been heated against a mold to make panels. And I just drew an antique lamp out of my head. And I remember he looked at everything and he said, "Nice lamp." And I thought, of course I can draw a lamp, because that's what my parents do. But
Right.
think about that then. If I have to draw something that's period oriented, I can make deco up out of my house or out of my head. I can make Art Nouveau up. I can make the 50s up. I've handled so much of stuff. It got easy. That's kind of a nice thing about drawing comic books. When you have to be able to draw these worlds, I was exposed to so much of it. Yeah. And I know you're going to ask me about Death Ship. And the funny thing is, that's when I met Bob Schreck. And Bob Schreck ended up being the editor who hired me for Death Ship years and years later. That's how we met. And he filed away in the back of his head this young artist that he had met. And any good editor will do that. They will, when they meet an artist, even if they don't hire him, they'll realize what he can do. And if he's good enough, they'll just put him in the back of his head someplace when they need that guy. They can pull the name up. And yeah, he called me out of the blue, and I of course remembered who he was and was delighted.
Damn it, Carrie! He knew exactly what I was just about to segue to ask him. So
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, Carrie, you go. Carrie, you take this
Psychic.
one. I'm just gonna drink.
Oh, I've just been drinking. No, we covered great. This is it's hard to find you, and this is a good thing. But I can't buy you digitally. And this was something, because I like to send these guys or grab stuff and get it on Comixology or something like that. And you are very hard to find, and if it is, it's a bootleg as far as your work goes. So it was
I've never offered
we're
my own work
grabbing stuff.
digitally. Yeah. I've never offered my own work digitally. I'm such a diehard. I love the paper. I'm even kind of anti trade paperback, only because I like to read in bed and I like to read on my side and they don't stay open. So they call them floppies, and call them what you will. That's still my favorite. But I believe that, a lot of what I've worked on in this industry has been a licensed property. G.I. Joe, Transformers, Kiss. What are some other things? Alex Cooper, I did Conan. So there may be some instances where getting the books out in a digital form may involve more complicated licenses. I did 2 years drawing Lego Bionicle. DC published that, but it was for Lego. I have no idea who actually owns the rights for reprint. I assume Lego.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were worried when we had you on about what we could pull up because where it might have come from originally or gotten somewhere if we grabbed it. So we got like some pictures, but when he's talking about his books, check out, this is The Wise Old Owl, signed by him. This book is huge, but it is
Yes.
so gorgeous. The pages, this is by my way, my favorite story in here.
The
But the pages
Virgilina.
are so
Okay.
glossy and heavy. Yes. Oh, it goes in it. Well, you can explain it. It's got some great history and stuff, but this is just a gorgeous book. And I don't mind that it's larger. I went out and bought bigger boxes because I've been buying some bigger books lately to have everything kept in. And I I could not fault I cannot fault you for wanting to release something and have somebody hold it and feel it, because I got so much more out of this than when I do read things digitally. And most of the time I just buy something, look at it, say that's pretty, and then I read it on Kindle or Marvel or wherever I get it
Dare
from.
you? Dare you?
Just because I don't, it's because I don't want to screw up, because I'm a klutz and I don't want to be like reading it and spill something on it, or, tear a page, or accidentally have the tape on something, damage the comic. So that's what,
Here's the funny
but then
thing.
I get that feeling when I do read yours, I'm just like, I should read more of mine this way, instead of just bagging them, boxing them, putting them away.
I always have. So here's one of the things I think is really interesting about reading a book in general. We're in a society where we consume an awful lot of media. Okay, we might all watch the same movie, right?
Mhm.
But if we're not together, we're having a very different experience.
Right.
Even if it's sort of, we all have the same DVD and we say, all right, we're going to watch it at a viewing party. You've got a different television than I do. You've got a different sound system than I do. You may have different settings on your television than I do. And so it's really hard to have the exact same experience. Movies, music, the same way. The stereo system you have determines a lot of what you think of that music. If we're all holding the same comic book, okay, the comic book is really consistent, and the only thing that's really going to affect our experience is our surroundings there and maybe our light source. But we don't have this intermediate bit of technology that has to, facilitate the ingesting of this media. We could agree we're all going to read at noon, with the sun directly above us, and try to sort of standardize the experience. But what I'm getting at is I really love the experience of this. What is this? It's got a weight, it's got a girth to it. I think the paper that a book is printed on matters, not just to how it feels, but how you turn the pages. And there becomes a psychological interaction between the thing. So Wise Old Owl is comic book proportion. I've talked to people who say this is magazine size, and I say, well, not exactly. It's the width of a magazine, but it's taller. So it has the same proportions of a comic book. So it should echo and say comic book to you, even though it's a little bit big. Well, why does that matter? Because the size of an object affects how we feel about it. If you print this exact same thing, but it's on really floppy paper and it's baseball card size, you'll read it differently. You'll even hold it from your face at a different length. So I actually feel like when I make a comic book, it's really fun to consider all of this. I've told young creators, one of the cool things about a comic book is you have to turn the page. And what that means is if you have a 32-page comic book, you'll turn the page 16 times. And that means 16 times you'll stop at the bottom panel here, turn the page, and start at the top. And each one of those is an opportunity to surprise somebody. If you really want to surprise a reader, you put something in the first panel on the left-hand side at the top. The trick is you really only can surprise somebody once per issue. If you use that trick more than once, it becomes really hokey, right? Mm-hmm. But a really good comic book will take all that into account. And a really good comic book will do the same thing for, where an issue ends and where the next one begins. I always thought it was weird when I see a comic book that has really, really badly placed ads. I hate to throw Dark Horse under the bus, but I'm going to do this. There's a Star Wars Tales that has, it's Darth Vader, Boba Fett, and Han Solo, and they're all in the cantina. And I think it's Darth Vader, but it might be Boba Fett. One of them's talking to the other, and we see somebody say, "You," and you turn the page, and it's an ad. And you turn the page, and it's a 2-page spread of ads. and then you finally turn the page and you see who it is the person was responding to. Now, a lot of times it's really easy to slip past the ads and turn them and not even pay attention to them. But either way, that stopped the story. You know, it didn't create more tension for me because, oh my gosh, I got to turn the page faster and see who it is. It took me out of the moment. And as somebody arranging the book, I would say, boy, you just killed all the energy right there. So I guess I have to criticize the editor or somebody, but that's a big deal. How you space the book, even where you put the ads, can matter.
Right.
And this book is so quality. Like you were saying, how you read it, I'm holding it and I'm like, I have like my fingers to the side and the spine here and a little finger kind of holding the spine. And then, but I don't want to mess up anything. And I've got it kind of towards my body and I'm flipping very carefully each page, but the quality of your book is so good.
You'd have a hard time
it's
hurting
nice.
it.
Yeah, but and I think what probably got me doing the digital thing more is there aren't as many comics that are as just they feel great to I love holding a book too, but I've gotten to where sometimes I buy the like $170 first edition signed with this and this, and then I read the Kindle after I get that book, I flip through it, I sniff it, I hug it, and I put it in my closet so that I don't damage it, and then I read it in a different way. But I think with the comic thing, it's easier to read digital on some of them because a lot of comic books don't care as much these days with making the super high quality stuff. Distillery has recently come out and they offer a really weird experience where you can get, well, not weird, but they do a very strange digital collectible as well, so that the way you read it on their site, it reads differently than just flipping through a comic. But they also have like high quality pages, thick paper, big books, you know, longer than normal things. So they're another company that is offering like multiple different types of experiences for the comics. But just getting some, like if I go down to the comic book shop and just grab some of the regular on the rack stuff anymore, it's just kind of like, okay, I can flip through it, but the papers are kind of thin still. And
so we are spoiled is the problem. I really believe this. You know, I can remember I remember when Baxter paper was introduced, and that was a big deal. I mean, it was a brighter, whiter paper, and you know, for so long we'd had just newsprint, right? And then if we had anything that wasn't newsprint, we had some treasuries. We might have had some digests, but there were very few changes in format. You know, we've got so many nice comics coming out now, digital coloring, digital pre-press. You know, I can remember when was it Power Comics came out with things like Cobalt Blue in the early 80s, if you guys even remember this, and there were some small independent companies who worked really, really hard and spent a fortune making a fairly professional looking product that by today's standards, we would say this is fairly amateurish. Not that they didn't put good work into it, but digital pre-press and controls made everything so much better. When I broke into comic books, my first offering was my self-published comic book, Shiver in the Dark. It was a black and white interior book. And at the time, most all independent books were black and white. I think the last black and white book I've seen that was black and white at all was A Walking Dead. And that was just black and white based on momentum. I can't even imagine launching an independent comic book right now and having to be black and white unless that's somehow sort of a gimmick. What we're used to getting, what we're able to get for, you know, the baseline of what a comic book can be at this point is actually really high quality product. Mm-hmm. But I'm very flattered. You said what you said about the Wise Old Owl. The format is a little bit different. I loved it. I loved how it felt. I've talked to different printers and I came across this paper stock in this format, and I just thought it had such a nice presence to it. Mm-hmm. That I wanted to go with that. And I'm delighted that you like the Virgilina character in the story. I giggled a little bit when I came up with her. It hit me kind of all at once. But you know, I told you my parents like antiques. I've already talked about art history. Does it surprise you I had to have a character based from Dante's Inferno? No. Right.
No. Well, and kind of that would segue to my question about Bloodship, because I'm reading it, and you know, I enjoy that you really fleshed out the essentially, as we know, because if you're a Red Dracula, the doomed crew
Demeter.
of the Demeter, which, you know, it's kind of always it's interesting when people kind of flesh out things because I always feel like it falls into two categories. It's like the thing you didn't ask for, and then the thing you didn't ask for, but the story was just done so well that you cared. Like it, and like, and if example, it's like the prequel to The Thing. You know, you didn't really need this because you know these people are dead. So
Right.
you sympathize, but you don't really know how they died because all you care about is the thing that killed them is going to get doused by fire by Kurt Russell, the flamethrower. But then you have like, it's like you think in terms of making it care, like you had Rogue One. You have this story about these people who their biggest accomplishment was getting the plans to destroy the Death Star to Mon Mothma so they could do that in the original Star Wars, and all of them die. And you're
Sure.
like, and if I need to say this, if someone is going to accuse me of spoilers, it's been out for years. Deal with it. Sorry, Leo.
No, no,
I
no
mean,
worries. And don't forget they made a prequel to the prequel because you have Andor. You know,
there you go. So, you know, but my point being is that again, it was just so well done that you cared about these people. So I feel like you and your collaborator on that, you guys fleshed out these people and you made us really care about, you know, like I was kind of rooting for the captain and the boy and the jerk of the first mate who's just such a, you know, just a meathead. I was like, I'm hoping you guys make it. I know you won't, but some part of me is like, you know, damn. And then, you know, especially it's like the way that you guys did it, especially your style. I kind of, my brain kind of drew parallels to the hyper realism, but like the kind of spookiness that I saw with a lot of early Tony Harris, you know, just that very realistic, spooky, you know, kind of quasi ethereal thing. So, with all that said, when you're doing this, you know, that did you have like, you know, your copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula, like superimposed, stretched out, like, all right, that's okay. We're gonna reference that. We're gonna, you know, or did you just, I've read this, I'm gonna roll with it.
So this, you've hit on what I think is one of the big questions for people who make comic books, period. In that very often we get to work on something that we care deeply about, or maybe have an investment in that some, you know, creators did before us. I think, see, I'm such a name dropper. I think it was John Byrne was talking about an interview one time that he kind of felt like his Fantastic Fours weren't real because, you know, real Marvel comics are Stan and Jack and Steve Ditko. Well, that was the stuff he loved, and that was the stuff that made him want to write and draw comics. And then it's a little bit odd when you sort of feel like you need to follow that up. And we have lots of things like this. This is kind of like, you know, somebody wanting to do a cover of a well-known song. And I pretty much feel that the best thing you can do is do the best thing that you can do and not be too worried about what came before you, right? I may be a good match to do that Dracula story, or I may be a bad match. Whichever it is I am, I should probably try to do whatever is the best thing that I have to offer. If I'm ill-suited for it and my best offering fails, okay, then that's what it is. But if I'm trying to live up to something that I'm inherently not, that's kind of a path for failure. So in the case of the Dracula book, Bob called me up and he offered me that book. And he actually offered me that book and another book, which I don't remember what it was, but it was going to be a 6-issue series, whereas the Dracula book was 4. And he said, you know, do you want either one? And if you do, you can have whichever one you want. The other one was sort of a magical book with some children in it. And while on one hand, you know, it would be nice to have 6 issues of work rather than 4, I knew that I wanted the Dracula. I knew I was a better fit for it. And I really didn't give it a whole lot of thought. Just, I felt the connection to it. I felt more interested in it. I felt it played to my strengths. And the editor was quick to agree with me. He said, I think you chose the right one, but you can have whatever you'd like. Now, I say that because I could have surprised him. I think this is kind of one of the things that maybe makes him a good editor is he says, well, how do I get the best work from an artist? You know, I let him do what he wants to do and what he thinks he's going to enjoy. If I had said, no, Bob, I'm really interested in the other thing, then he might have said, really? Cool. Okay, then let's do that. But I responded to the Dracula and we talked about what we wanted him to look like. And he could have looked any way. I mean, there are a lot of Draculas out there, a lot of vampires, and we both sort of responded to the Nosferatu film, sort of rat-like design. And in the case of Death Ship, if I recall, I think the concept and the pacing of the story was originally built as a screenplay, and it was moved around a bit to work better as a comic book. But a comic book is broken up into 4 issues. Screenplay, once you've sold a ticket, somebody's going to sit through the whole thing. So you'll build them a little bit differently. But Bob and I got along, and Bob was always a really good editor for me, and I think that Bob was very, very good. Everybody's different. I always think of an editor as a little bit like a coach. How does he get the best work out of me? And so he was good about telling me when he thinks I'm doing something good, and he was also good at saying, I think this can be better. What I liked about him was, for the most part, I feel like my job is to draw the comic book. The writer wrote the comic book. All the problems in the writing are fixed before, they're taken care of before I get involved. The editor will go over everything. But in the case of Death Ship, and it sounds like I'm being critical of Jerry's script, and I'm really not meaning to say that, but there was one thing that I really thought we should have changed in it, and it's only because the pacing of the comic book really matched the pacing of the movie as it was originally meant to be. And that was in the first issue, the story is built so that there's mystery and tension that builds regarding this Dracula character, and so much of his doings and killings happens off camera. As a movie, you can have somebody scream off camera, and it's very effective, and then 10 minutes later we can find out what it is. Well, in a comic book, if you do something like that and we don't get an answer until an issue later, sometimes that can be a problem. I called Bob up and I said, in this whole first issue of this Dracula comic book, Dracula is not even in it. And I said, I kind of feel like we should give our fans their money's worth. If we say it's Bram Stoker's Dracula, where is he? And so what we did was, with his blessing, we moved a couple panels around and created a vacuum where we had one open page, and I made a splash page that was the killing, which otherwise happened off camera. And I just felt the story kind of needed it. But where I'm going with this is, a few things had to be in place. One, I had to be comfortable enough with my editor that I could say, hey, maybe I think we should do something different. Because for the most part, I really do feel like the writers and editors do their job in those things. If I'm fixing something in the story, or if I think something's wrong, then it's a real problem, or my ego is out of control, one or the other. In this case, Bob agreed with me, and he was willing to listen. And I told him, I said, if you don't want to do this, that's totally cool. The script is there. The story still works. You're the editor. I'll do whatever you think is best. But I just kind of want to feel heard. And he and I had that kind of relationship where anything I thought we should change, he would listen. And, typically when I work on a book, about once every 3 issues, I might say, let's change something. And it's usually so small. It's almost always pacing. Bob agreed with it. He said, you want to talk to the writer? And I said, no. I said, I work for you. I don't work for him. And he doesn't want me telling him how to write his story. I won't want him telling me how to draw. If he has a problem with my art, I hope he would go through you, because you're the boss. I really think it's best for somebody to be in charge. And so I was happy to work with him. But I thought it made the story a little bit better. And I also, I never really spoken to Jerry about it, but I don't think he minded, because I didn't change the events that happened. It just sort of changed the pacing. And I kind of feel like that's what I'm brought in to do. But to that end, I guess the point I'm ultimately trying to make was, the nice thing I really got was I felt like I had a good working relationship with my editor, where I felt comfortable to bring up that I wanted to change things. There's one editor I worked for who one time said to me, why can't you just draw it the way it's in the script? And I said, well, I'm trying to tell you why I think we should change it. He wasn't very interested in that at all. And typically that's not a good experience. Everybody wants to feel as though they can suggest something if they think it's a good idea, and just have their idea be considered.
Right.
Yeah. But that Dracula book was a lot of fun. There was I got to make things that were gritty. I got to use a lot of blacks. I got to make it really spooky. There were times when I could have drawn, a full figure, but it became a silhouette instead. And I think there were a few things that, if you get a chance to look at this book, you'll have a very different experience reading it, either as the floppy or the trade paperback. And I really believe that. And I will tell you, the biggest difference is exactly the paper. Bob had what I thought was a really pretty cool idea to put the comic book on a sort of pulpier paper. This is a story that takes place way back when, and he wanted it to feel a little distant. And conceptually, it's a great idea. I'm not sure that that idea was passed around and communicated to everybody. I didn't find out about it until after I had drawn the first issue. I bring all this up because you'll draw it a little bit differently. If you're on pulpy paper, you don't get a bright white to your paper. It's sort of a dull gray. And so if I use a lot of blacks, the areas that I've left to be white, they never are white. They're actually kind of gray. So I'm expecting different midtones and different highlights, depending on what paper I'm using. That information, I don't know if that was communicated to the colorist as well, because when the colorist colored it, he didn't leave a lot of white areas. So what that meant is when you print on wood pulp paper, your blacks usually aren't a true black. They're closer to a gray, and your whites aren't a true white. Everything gets kind of compressed to this area of grays. And so I didn't help the equation for that because I had so many blacks, and the colorist didn't help it because he didn't leave very many whites. So what you do end up with, to Bob's vision, is this thing that feels really kind of grayed out and aged. And I actually thought it was a little bit difficult to see some of it. So when it came time to make a trade paperback, I said, Bob, I'm requesting that instead of putting it on pulp paper, put it on glossy. It'll make your blacks deeper, and it'll make your whites look a little bit brighter. And so you'll have a greater spectrum of values. Well, what does that mean? It means you can see details differently. If you have high contrast art, it actually is high contrast instead of graying out. And so I've done this where I've sort of taught, how to make comic books and how to draw them. I said, look at them side by side, see how your experience is different. And I think that's kind of one of the things that makes comic books kind of fun and neat, because the art's the same, the writing's the same, everything's there on the paper. This points out just how different your digital experience might be, because I'm talking about reading something that's only reflected light, whereas digital is projected. Yeah, I can't. I'm never going to overlook past the format when I make a comic book. I think it's incredibly important. I wish I had a better way to wrap up that comment.
No, you're good. So I want to say, before Leo asks, his patented last question or so, before we let you go, so our resident shellhead, Justin Cooper, who just came back from a great weekend at Grant State Comic Con, wanted to say that he's a personal fan of your TMNT covers. I believe we're looking at one right now, The Last Ronin.
Yes. So yeah, that one's mine. I've done 3. I did that one, and I did 2 for the Saturday morning adventures.
Oh, nice.
And they're drawn in dramatically different styles. It's kind of funny. My Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles covers, the 3 of them as a body, is one of the things in recent memory that I'm most proud of, and that is because they're so different. When I drew the Saturday morning cartoon version, I really had to draw it in a different style. And I think it's important. I think a really good artist can change their style to suit the subject matter. If I want to draw something that looks, horrific, you got to need deep, dark shadows. If I want to draw something that looks really sort of youthful and sprite, like, I need bold lines. I mean, it is really difficult to draw in the Richie Rich Archie style and say, I'm going to draw this character and I need, 5 or 6 lines to do it. That's very different than sort of a fastidious, Neil Adams, Bernie Wrightson kind of approach. But that last Ronin cover, I know people who are Turtles guys. I like the Turtles just fine, but Turtles are so wildly popular right now that I thought, okay, if I don't get this right, these guys are going to be all over me. Last Ronin was really wonderful, and it was a hit. And if I have only one cover I get to make them, I better get it right. So, when I did something here, I wanted something that had this sort of great movie poster sort of quality to it. That big orange moon in the back is so kind of Bob Peak, Apocalypse Now kind of approach. But it's very atmospheric. It's very dark. I think it played to the tone of the original series, and I wanted something that's dramatic. This cover came together for me almost immediately. My the thing that I loved about this character design is the 4 weapons, right? We didn't know initially when we read the series who the last Ronin was. We know that he's wielding all the weapons, and I just thought that idea was perfect, that they're brothers and he carries, the one survivor carries on for the other 3, and it's represented through the weapons. And that's really all this cover is trying to show.
It's beautiful though.
All right.
And
Yeah.
Leo, do you think? Ask your last question of the night.
Last Ronin was amazing and absolutely loved that cover. I listened to your TED talk. Absolutely loved it.
Thank you.
Well, you hit. I absolutely love that you hit on, you know, how you draw for your own pleasure, but it's also your day job as well, and how to differentiate the two. But putting that off to the side, you know, drawing for your own pleasure, what is something else that you do for fun or dork out about? You know, you probably don't have time, but do you game, or you know, you watch horror movies every Friday? You know, what's your thing?
So I've got some answers to that, and they're really disappointing. One of the things is I'm actually a part of the CFA APA group, which you guys will either say, "Oh, I know what that is," or "I've never heard of that." And it is this this club that goes back to about 1983 when it was started. It was founded by Roger Hill, who just passed this last year. And Roger Hill was a comic book historian who, I think he was the gentleman who published Squatron, which was the really early EC Comics fanzine. But he put together a club which stands for Comic and Fantasy Art Amateur Press Association. And there are only about 40 of us at a time. And it was this group of guys who love comic book art. And we put out a phone book sized book 3 times a year where we write articles for each other. It only has a 40 copy print run. You can probably look on eBay and find a copy or 2 if you can. They're individually numbered. I was at a party. I was at a party I got invited to, which is really, really strange. This is a good story. Where I was told it was sort of a party of some art collectors, and there were several people in the room who knew each other, and they were all going, and they all kind of gave each other the nod and the wink and kind of pointed at me like, "What about him?" And enough people said, "Yeah, he's okay." So I got invited to this thing, and I went, and it was just millions of dollars of art laid out, where these guys all knew each other and they just wanted to share their love of art. And so when you walk in the room and you say, "Oh, there's a San Julian Vampirella painting on the couch. Cool. There's, you know, a Jeff Jones painting next to it." But I met these guys, and because I had this background loving art outside of comic books, I struck up a conversation. They asked me to join. So I love talking about art in kind of an academic way. That's a good answer for my hobby, which in a way kind of stinks because it's so close to what I really do. But you know, I used to play a lot of ultimate frisbee. That's the answer you're looking for. But I got to the point where I was on the field and I was trying to cover kids who were literally half my age, and that's not much fun. You know, like I can still get better at drawing, but I'm going to tell you, my ultimate frisbee skills were on steep decline. Once I hit 40, I felt it. I was pretty good at 39, and at 44, I was washed up. But I am a sports fan, and I do like math. I do like science. You'll laugh. I always make my wife drone one of my favorite Carl Sagan quotes. Can I end on a Carl Sagan quote?
Totally.
It's so good. I may not get it exactly right, but he always said, if you want to make an apple pie from scratch, you first have to invent the universe. Okay. I kind of like that because I say that to people who want to make comic books. You know, it seems like such a huge thing you're doing. And I say, look, it's just like making an apple pie. You don't have to invent the comic book. There's already the stuff that exists before you. You can find a printer. You don't have to figure out how to get something printed. There are lots of people who can do the things you can't do. But you, because all those other things are in place, you're going to get to make a comic book, and all you have to do is write it and draw it. When you think about all that has to go into making a comic book, the writing and drawing suddenly gets really easy. So
that's brilliant.
Absolutely. There we go. I laughed at because it's such a ridiculous comment. But once you think about it that way, you're like, oh yeah, my contribution is really pretty small. This stuff is easy.
And now I can't ask you any more questions because that was perfect.
Yeah, I feel like that's the perfect, like, all right, Leo, let's sign him off and end on that marvelous high note. And don't you dare ask him
I'm going to email you.
Well, you can ask me anything you want. My problem is that I'll just go on all night. I mean, look, I've got a forum. You're letting me just, talk about something to know about and tell me how great I am. How am I going to cut this off? This is wonderful.
Okay, well, one more.
Well, I was
one
just
more.
going to say, that's just what our shows is about. Is getting to know you rather than, your work history. We love talking about your work history, but we want to know what's behind it. So and sorry, Carrie, finish up.
Oh, no. First off, I am the worst researcher ever when it comes to looking for certain things, because like we see the picture, look, I see your work history and I'm like, okay, going to interview Stuart Sayger. And I don't see pictures of people often. I don't, so I'm like, he's 20. Wow. How did he start drawing in diapers? Nice? That was just insane, So like, but no, you're saying, you're like, oh, I'm declining and stuff. And I'm just like, I seriously thought I was trying to figure out how you started in the industry when you were like still in elementary school.
I get into it late. I get into the comic book industry early by virtue of the comic book store, because I start when I'm 13. But I don't think I self-published a comic book till I was almost 30. I was 29, I think. I mean, I really do come to it late.
But I mean, you have to still get carded in places. To be weird about it.
I got turned away one time when I was 37, which was a long time ago, but they told me I had to have 2 forms of ID with photo. And I said, like, what? And this guy literally said to me, he's like a student ID. And I was like, I'm 37. Like, where am I supposed to be a student? I'm not going to have that. But, okay. I do want to throw this out as a fun little story regarding my age. I didn't think I was ready to make the leap into comics. Everybody I knew was older, and you look up to a certain generation of comic creators. True story. I went to a small one-day hotel convention because I heard this guy David Mack was going to be there, and I'd never met David Mack, but I'd seen his work. And I walked in because I wanted to learn something about making comics. And when I met him, I thought, that guy's not very old, and I think this is just about the time he was going to get Daredevil, so he'd done Kabuki but not really crossed over to Marvel. And we got talking, and he had done so much. And I think in our conversation, we realized I was 3 months older than him. And that didn't seem like a big deal, but that was like, no, it's time to do this. Like, you're never as good as you want to be, right? So you think I should wait till I'm better. But then I was like, what am I waiting for? When I'm never going to be as good as I want. And here's somebody who, dove in and he was 22. So I don't know if he knows that, but just seeing that and seeing that there was somebody who was young and was good and was making it made me say, all right, I should be doing this now.
And that wasn't the only question I had, by the way. The other one was, how much do you do in terms of, because I'm a horror author, and we've been working on getting some books put out, and we're doing a lot of different, some anthologies that I'm in. We're getting some new illustrations done and stuff. But I personally, I no AI illustrations at all. I'm looking forward to putting together a couple of collections. And do you like to work with people who come out and are just like, hey, let me send you a story and you give me your interpretation of it? If you're getting commissioned for something, do you do things like that? Or do you want to have somebody describe specifically a scene? Is that something you've done before or worked with?
I think I've done all of it. I think the thing that I like, I'm not dodging your question, but I'll give you the best answer I have. I kind of like to know what my part is. I kind of like to know what you want me to do. When I worked on Lego Bionicle, that was a really good job, but Lego wanted something different, and they gave me a whole bunch of freedom. They weren't, to their credit, they knew they were doing something that was very different than it had done before, but they weren't exactly sure what they wanted. So I thought, okay, well, I'll make what I think I want. And then there were times they'd say, this isn't quite what we want, but we're not sure what it is. And that's the only situation I think is kind of hard to work with. Now, Lego was great to work with, and it took us a little bit of going back and forth to sort of nail down what the style was. And once I knew, and I knew what the boundaries were and what they expected from me, great. If I have this much room to play in, then I'll do it. If it's that much, fine. I just kind of like to know where the edges are. The only thing you don't want is when somebody asks you to do a job and then that's not really what they want. You know, go ahead and draw the character the way you want. And then you do it and they say, well, it's really supposed to look like Harrison Ford. You got to tell me that. But look, I'm somebody who likes telling stories and I like to write. Okay. So I feel like, I think the thing, in all sincerity, I'm going to put the shoe on the other foot. I think you will be better off to figure out what it is you want out of the person you want to collaborate with. Right. If you know what you want, particularly as a writer, they can't draw anything until you've written it. If you sort of communicate what it is you want and then say, this is the vision I have, do you share it? Do you go against it? And it's okay if they go against it, providing they give you their pitch and then you respond to it and you say, yeah, let's do that. But 9 times out of 10, I feel like a project works best if somebody's in charge. I always thought the nightmare would be, I have no idea what it was like to edit X-Men back in the 80s, but for a while, I think it's scripted by Claremont and Byrne, written by Claremont, drawn by Byrne. Those two have the capacity to agree on some things, not agree on others, and then potentially gang up on the editor. And I just thought like, ooh, corralling that sounds hard. You know, what is the vision? I would put somebody in charge, and if you're the writer and you want it to be you, then it should be you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I wanted to go kind of out of comic realm real quick and also be like, or do you do illustration? You know, did you commission for fiction?
Oh yeah, and
can I hire you at some point? Maybe
you get all that. Sure. I mean, you know, get out the checkbook, but every job is different. I don't know how to put it. I mean, you really want to be invested in it. And I talked about the Bionicle job, and I always thought that drawing robots was my nightmare. I told people that, but in a way, maybe I was the perfect guy to draw that book because I did my best to make them as lifelike as possible. They, you know, I let them get dirty and bent, and I tried to put, I could bend the face as much. They'd allow me to put emotion into them, you know, but I did not want to feel like I was drawing talking automobiles.
Yeah.
Well, that's what made it successful. If I had been, you know, a mech head, it would have been a different book.
Right.
Yeah, looking at most of your work, you don't go, oh, robots.
No, and I used to joke like my nightmare was drawing Iron Man. I had a friend who collected a lot of comic book art, and he had a couple rules about what he collected. And one of them I thought was really fascinating was he wouldn't buy any art when he couldn't see the character's face. And so by that, he meant like he wouldn't buy Iron Man because Iron Man couldn't have an expression. Right. He felt it was harder to emotionally connect with the art. I said, well, Batman's face is covered. And he says, yeah, but they always make his eyebrows change and everything. So like through that instance, you can see his face. So you go through his collection and there's no Dr. Doom, right? There's no Moon Knight. Anybody whose face is covered, it's just gone.
Wow. Interesting.
That guy was a writer. He was a storyteller too. He thought like that. He wanted that communication.
So Stuart, we're coming up on a little bit over an hour. So that's usually the amount of time that we usually have our guests on. So just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us today. You know, the stories were awesome. You know, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about, you know, art and your stories and the books and whatnot. So before we leave, if people want to, you know, look you up, you know, hit you up or anything like that, what social media are you on, and what's the best way for people to reach you?
Facebook and Instagram are the ones I use most. You know, it used to be there were 2 or 3, and if you got those, you had it covered. But there are so many right now, and those are the 2 I know best. And it seems like if I'm on those 2, I'll get most people. I've got a website at stuartsayger.com. It's always good to go there. But I also really, really, really want to encourage people, if you have the chance, come see me at a convention. I love talking to people in person. Particularly if you want to know anything about my art. I've got different styles. You can touch it, you can handle it, you can see how I work. Usually my hands are stained. See all that white paint? I was painting Vampirellas earlier today. This is the stuff I was doing. But that's how they happen.
Ooh, pretty.
And there's nothing like, you know, I always say if you weren't there, you don't know. So come see me and be there and you will know. But Instagram, Facebook, those are the best.
Awesome. You even had ink on your hands when you handled the Action Comics #1.
Oh man, I did. I love that photo because I'm stained with. There's literally a photo where I'm holding a true Action Comics #1 out of the bag. Steve Borok is there with me, and he had founded CGC, and he made that possible. And my hands are absolutely stained, absolutely, and it looks so great. It looks like I'm I'm holding this, incredible relic with just ink everywhere. It's just yeah, people cringe. It was all dry. Didn't hurt the book at all.
Awesome.
Okay, good.
Well, Stuart, like Drew said, thank you for your time. It was an absolute pleasure. We'd love to have you on again at some point. And we'll definitely keep in touch. When you're ready, just hit the leave studio button, like I mentioned on the bottom, and head on over to the uploads page.
I will do that. I have to make. Oh, I said it, there's a leave button. So thanks so much for having me, you guys. And listen, when you go to another show, any of you, come say hi to me in person. Leo, I don't think you and I have met. I'd love to talk in person, and I really do recommend that you go to the Baltimore Comic-Con. It was wonderful. I can't wait to go back.
What's the next con you're going to be at?
I am New York Comic Con is coming up. I know I'm going to be at the Columbus December show. I think Columbus, Ohio. That's coming up. There are probably more, but if you don't know for sure, StuartSayger.com has a little tab that says appearances, and it'll tell you everywhere I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll check.
All right.
Right now I'm going to bed.
All right. Thank you so much.
Sleep well, sir.
Be
Thank
good,
you.
guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was awesome.
I could talk to him for hours.
Yes, I noticed. I was like, every time
I have this list. I'm like, oh,
I know. Shit. Every time, I'm like, well, it's past an hour. We got a lot of news. Kara's like, oh, but I'm like,
and I only have 17 more questions for you off the top of my head.
That's fine, Carrie. And I guarantee he would be a great guest to have on any of your Owl Light programs, and talk to him more then.
And back here again. And you know what? We have been just having so many fucking fun guests on lately, guys. Drew has been doing great at getting people lined up, sending stuff out, and getting us all these people that, I just want to squeeze almost every show. I know that sounds horrible, but all these people that we get on are people that it's not just like, oh, we're kind of dredging the bottom of the barrel. It's like, I have things that I am so interested in asking you about. I can't even get to all of them because all of us have questions for you. And it's been wonderful. So,
well, I just wanted to add, you talking about questions. I was so prepared for tonight. I had so many questions. I mentioned his TEDx. I watched that, and I even threw that into a translator, and then threw it through AI to dissect his TEDx to do a deep dive into it. So I got a shit ton of questions for him, and
there you go.
Yeah, but at least we were all prepared. We had an awesome conversation. And before we move on, we got this.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Leo, there was one more thing that before we went on, well, actually it can wait. It can wait until later. But
Thank you.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'll be a good kid. I'll be a good kid and wait. I talked to Drew about it already. I forgot. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Keep sipping your apple juice, Carrie.
Hey, no, it's grape juice.
That's fine. Whatever it is, keep sipping it.
I love it.
All right. So now the news, and I just need to let you all know we have so much news because it's getting near the end of the year. I know. Where did the year go? So a lot of our news is about books. Some of it is about books that are coming up next year. So I hope you guys have a slush fund ready because you're going to need some major money for some of these books coming up.
Before news,
I'm hearing something. We're actually getting a live feed right now from Jar Jar on vacation. Jar Jar, can you hear us? Jar Jar? No, he can't hear us.
Bye.
We'll check in with him again.
Look.
We'll check it next week. Hopefully, he doesn't say the wrong thing to
Careful
cheat.
there.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
He does have his Frenchie to save him though, so that's good.
Well, by the power.
I'm totally glad he was able to make it to Grayskull. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His flight landed safely.
He had some frequent flyer miles. He had a hell of a deal. You know?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what you need.
Indeed. You know? But without further ado, because there's so much. And Leo.
But we have to do something before the news, Drew. Sorry. You come up with it. We find it. We do it. They keep making more of it. And actually, thank God they do, because Stuart is amazing at doing the variant covers for things. But we're going to do that first.
Bury your head in sand, Barry.
I'm like all ready for it to be up. I'm like, and
well, I need
we're
to
behind here.
load
Okay.
it. I am
Pull it
sorry.
up.
I am sorry.
It's okay. I was just like, I was all excited.
Yeah.
I'm like, phew. Okay. So here's the deal. These are out of order. Sorry. They put them up in a certain way, and I didn't realize that until later. So cope. All right. In the celebration of the latest season of Fortnite Absolute Doom, Marvel has teamed up with the folks at Fortnite.
Fortnite.
What? Yeah. Well, it sounds like Fortnite. Okay. Once again, to realize and release special outfits where they are combining Marvel and Fortnite characters. They're going to be available in game as well as on variant covers during November. On November 6th, this is Captain Jones, a combination of Captain America and Agent Jones, and this will be appearing on Avengers number 20 with artwork by Epic Games. The next one that comes up is going to be released on November 27th. This is Afu-chan, and he is doing the Spirit of Vengeance number 3 with Ghost Rider, a combination of Ghost Rider and Der Burger.
Carrie, I'm sorry.
I read the totally wrong one. That's actually.
I was going to say, that's the Afu-chan, that's the Meow Tooth.
Wait. Okay, yeah. Confused. I put the numbers on the thing, and I'm like, this is in order. But this is okay. So this one is actually going to come out on November 16th as well. This is also Afu-chan, but it's X-Men 17 with Meowtooth, a combination of Sabretooth and Meowskulls.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so then it's that one in the Ghost Rider one that got confused. This is coming out on November 30th. It's Peelverine, a combination of Wolverine and Peely, gracing the cover of Wolverine number 3 with artwork by Ivan Coelho.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as I already described, we're gonna get Der Burger.
Ghost Rider and Der Burger.
Yeah. I'm as a big fan. That's Spirits of Vengeance number 3. As a big fan of Ghost Rider, I'm not necessarily thrilled with the flame broiled head. I get where they're coming from, though. They did a good job, but I'm kind of like underwhelmed with these covers in general. But that might just be because I'm not a Fortnite fan, so I don't actually know anything about Fortnite.
Okay, so let me clue you in on something here. I am not a Fortnite fan whatsoever. If this is anything like the Batman Fortnite books, it's going to be very hard to get a hold of. I know Batman sold out like instantly. But I have to say the Batman Fortnite storyline was actually genius. It was awesome. It was Batman was thrown into the Fortnite universe, and him and Catwoman, and every time he died, like his memory was reset. And it was like he knew Catwoman, but he didn't know Catwoman. The storyline was really good. So I mean, it's a little confusing that they're doing new characters. It would have been nice if they took, like, maybe like a Wolverine entering the Fortnite universe or something like that. I think that would have been a cool thing to do.
Mhm.
But these covers just look so bizarre.
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
peel. I mean, I've never thought potassium would try to kill you, but that's fine.
I'm all
Um,
about bananas, just usually not self-peeling. But it would
yeah,
be handy.
especially Canadian ones. It just feels
Canadian
odd.
bananas.
Yep, very strange. So, what's
So,
the next
so
one?
well, I was
Okay,
gonna say banana cover. Like, is Gwen Stefani gonna do a?
No, nope, nope, nope. Next, no, nope.
all right. So, what we have going on here is writer Rom V alongside artist Evan Cagle, could be Cagle, I'm going to call it Cagle, are soon to
Uh,
be releasing a new universe of Jack Kirby's New Gods. As foreseen by Metron via the source, an old god dies, which is triggering the powers of a child on Earth and letting loose an intergalactic army. New Genesis and Apocalypse are left floundering, whilst on Earth, Barda and Scott Free are dealing with the difficulties of parenthood of a potential god as all of this comes to pass. This is going to be part of the All In initiative, and it's going to be put out on December 18th. The main cover, which we just had up, is by Emmett Malavia, and the variants that we have so far, the first one there is by Evan Cagle. The next is by Carmine Di Giandomenico,
mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
the last is by Pete Woods. And there's also going to be an as of yet unreleased limited incentive cover by Cagle, which will only be receiving 300 copies printed. So
Oh
not going to own
wow!
that one. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's just not happening for most of us. But that is it for Variant Watch. So
Yeah.
there's a lot
Wow!
more coming. Get ready for next week. It's going to be big.
I
We're
I just want
saving
to
up.
say I always find it really amazing that New Gods, which is again a Kirby thing, just continues to play a very big role in the DC universe. I mean, the Fourth World was, it was big because it was Kirby back in the day, but it wasn't a huge hit. Um, and it's just so strange to still see those characters again, pretty much looking like they did, Kirby style, still play a very prominent role in the events of the DC universe, especially, Scott Free and Darkseid and Big Barda and such. So
Well, they
yeah,
aren't going to let it die, and if they do, it awakens the powers in somebody new. So it's just going to keep going.
it's true. Yep, it's very
It's
true.
true. There's
Yep.
always someone. Christian Ward in this case. So there you go.
Yep.
It's going to be
So
fun.
I know we're getting to the news, but
Oh yes.
I'm very excited. There are some surprises that not even Leo knows about. But before we do, roll it.
Drew's News, exciting tales, fresh comic views. In the pages, heroes fly, villains plot under the sky. From Gotham's dark to Metropolis views, we cover stories old and new. Drew's News, your daily source for comic clues. Join the fun, it's a heroic cruise in the world of Drew's Comic News.
Why aren't you deeper?
Oh, and Tom Dog had a couple things to say. That's awesome. Peelverine is his favorite. Fortnite is awesome. Sorry, your comments were covered by my text before. But now it's time for Drew's News. Oh, wait. Actually,
Oh,
you know what this has to do with?
yes. Is it have to do with something fantastic? Isn't that right, Carrie? A
Yeah,
family?
a
I just
family. How does Leo? How does the fantastic? Oh, wait. You know what? Can you do a close up real quick? Because I have something that was created by one of our friends. Just in case you don't know the origins of the Fantastic Four. Brandon has gone ahead and made this T-shirt for you.
For
You can go
friends.
ahead and pick up your own on Comics Paradox podcast on TeePublic. But yes, here, Drew, go ahead,
For
read it.
friends. For friends. Stolen spaceship. Bad shielding. Cosmic rays. Crash landing. Fantastic.
On the off chance that you just happen to know somebody who is a comic book fan that isn't aware of the origins of the Fantastic Four, Brandon Powers, wonderful Dorkening member, has put this shirt together. There are multiple versions of it. Even you don't just have to choose. There's this one. There's a couple others. You can choose the color, but just so that you make sure that and it's called the Fantastic Friends shirt, to make sure that you are a fantastic friend and that all of your friends know the Fantastic Four. Once again, Comics Paradox. Go there, but it's the Comics Paradox podcast TeePublic workshop show thing.
I am never gonna live that down, am I?
Ever.
No.
Ever. Even when we
Then
found
again,
out
dude,
home.
I made this. So like we take advantage, we just all vent our frustrations or make fun of each other and have fun with each other on TeePublic. We just make merchandise to mock each other. It's fun. It's a great family thing. If we didn't love you, we wouldn't do it. Like, dude, if Brandon didn't love you, he wouldn't have designed multiple shirts.
Multiple.
So that I could purchase things like this and wear them and be like, oh, no, let me tell you, this is the reason behind the season. This is why I'm wearing the shirt. And I do. I tell people in public.
Well,
sorry.
No, Gary, you're doing good.
I have to say, I just love being the butt of everybody's joke.
If it wasn't going to be you, it's going to be me. So I'm glad someone else is.
Like Drew we get Drew all the time. It was your turn, Leo, honestly.
Thank you. It's law of averages. And when we can finally find something to nail, the spooky shadow with the squirrel something on, you better believe we're it to the wall. But right now, we got to get back to the news. So I want to talk about the latest in the Disney crossover. This one is ridiculous.
Before we do that, speaking of that, did you watch the latest shorts I did, Carrie?
The what?
The YouTube shorts. Have you watched the latest ones?
No.
Oh, shorts I did. Okay, I thought you said, did I watch the latest Short-Sighted? And I've watched a number of the latest shorts that you did. Yes.
Did you catch the one?
I'm not sure. Which one?
Where you're saying, Drew.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the We're Too Drunk show. Yeah, that one was fun. I like that one. I was on pitch, I didn't fuck it up. I kind of nailed it. It was good. Yeah, guys, go check out our shorts. Leo just grabs our shit and throws it together, and it's super fun. We have a great time.
And the great thing is, since we're recording all the video and audio separately, like that there, Drew was trying to shut everybody up when you're singing, but I was able to separate you out and get it, perfectly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really great. And now Fantastic Four. So we've seen that there's been a lot of Disney what ifs. We saw Donald Duck as Wolverine, Donald Duck as Thor, Minnie as Captain Marvel, and now they're up in the ante because now we have Disney Marvel what if, and it's Mickey and Friends become the Fantastic Four. So written by Steve Bailing and Riccardo Secchi and drawn by Lorenzo Pastorvicio. This was basically taking it back to the foundation of the Marvel Universe. So we already know in 1961, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did the Fantastic Four issue 1. Leo, pay attention to the dates. You might be quizzed on this later. So Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and Donald are paying homage to this because essentially they're going to be the new Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben. So Mickey is Mr. Fantastic. Minnie is Miss Fantastic. Goofy is a Human Torch. And Donald is some kind of thing with a hat. With these powers, of course, they're going to help everybody as the Fantastic Four. And their first mission is to stop Mole Pete from destroying Duckburg. How do they get their superpowers? What's their origin story? Leo, I'm sure you know the answer to this, but we're not going to go there. Find out in this wonderful book, which will be available January 8th next year. So, and of course, you already saw we have the variant covers there. You had the main one, which was by Lorenzo Pastorvicio. We had Phil Noto, and then Chrissy Zullo did the other variants. So if you like what you're seeing, hey man, save up. You'll be able to get it by next year.
Yeah, I'm trying to look to see if I can pre-order it right now.
There you go.
You need to show the rest of the covers though, Leo. Like before you pre-order.
Oh,
we're on a show. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you're
Oh,
running things.
my bad. My bad. I
Look
thought
at that. That's fucking funny, man.
Keyboard monkeying versus like I'm fucking ordering this right now. Like, dude, seriously, like half an hour is not gonna take you off the list.
Carrie, pull back the shade, man. You're going in. You're going in. Pull back.
Okay. Sorry. I
No, you're good.
apologize,
You're
Leo.
fine. I was just like, pull back the teeth, man. Save some blood. But all right, so that's January 8th. Check that out. I really have no idea what's going to be coming next but who knows? Probably it's going to be Mickey and Friends, the X-Men.
Well,
Okay.
they already did Avengers.
Yeah, it's true. We'll see. All right.
I want to see a really badass Scrooge. Like we've already seen that he can become a badass, but I would like to see like the superhero badass motherfucking Scrooge. That would be fun. Like crossover. I'm just trying to figure out who would be perfect. It's gonna take a while.
Well,
yep.
We'll work on that one.
You'll find
work
out
on that later.
time. Yeah. So I think the next one is probably the worst thing that could ever happen on in a luxury resort. Isn't that right, Leo?
Yeah. Okay. So, if you are a Xenomorph fan, which for some reason I'm not, so brace yourselves for Marvel's latest twist on the Alien franchise, Alien Paradiso. Did I say that right?
Paradiso. Yep.
So dropping this December, this 5-issue limited series is about to turn the Alien universe into a cosmic cocktail of terror and luxury. So if you watch the show Acapulco, so think Acapulco on a remote space station, that's paradise for you. So writer Steve Fox and artists Edgar Salazar and Peter Nagayan, they're cooking up a story that's as lavish and as lethal. So we're talking high stakes criminals, undercover marshals, and overworked staff, all trapped in a gleaming space resort that's about to become an all-you-can-eat buffet for the aliens. So here's the showstopper. Each issue, and I think this is awesome. So it features a xenomorph POV drawn by Nagayan. So you'll see through the eyes of the alien as they hunt down their victims. That's going to be insane.
Wow, that is.
I like that.
And I have to say, I did enjoy the Alien movies. It's just that I found them a little too scary for me. So maybe the comics will be a bit easier for me. But anyway, our tale follows colonial marshals Dash Nanda and Lydia Reeves. So they're thinking they hit the jackpot with this assignment. Little do they know that they're about to star in the ultimate cosmic horror show. So Fox promises to keep the core of what makes Alien terrifying, a small group and unstoppable threat, and nowhere to run. So, but this time it's all happening under the artificial sun of a space-aged paradise. So circle December 11th on your star charts because that's when Alien Paradiso #1 bursts into the scene. See what I did there? Burst.
Yeah, that's fine.
The main cover by Ivan Coelho and a variant by Jay Gonzo. So you totally don't want to miss it. So we have, I believe that's the main cover right there. And that is
that's cool.
Variant. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
I thought that was inspired. I really enjoy that.
But I gotta be honest with you, Leo, I'm kind of like you, man. Like I just feel like we're seeing a lot of Alien stuff, and like you said, it's cool. I mean, I remember back when Dark Horse was doing Alien stories and such, but like again, I don't mind watching the Alien movies the same way I feel about the Predator, but I've never been like, oh my god, but I know they have a really good fan base, and I kind of like they're continuing the stories by also keeping true to what made them the stories. It was a small group of people in a confined location, and you just have the unrelenting odds of the xenomorphs and their hive, which is what made Aliens, what it was.
Like Alien was, just a hit out of the park. Aliens was like, lightning striking twice. I think it really lost it with Aliens 3. It's just
Yeah.
yeah.
There
Part
just
of
there was
part
a
of the
lot there.
yeah, part of the biggest problem is that like aliens, the xenomorphs have no motivation other than to breed and
And just
overtake. They take out, they aren't like, hey, they aren't the predator. They aren't gonna like, we're gonna go to this planet and do this. They're just like, all we want to do is breed. Oh, look, people came here. Oh, they took an egg of ours and moved it somewhere. So we're just gonna take over everything. They aren't really evil. It's all the people and all the other things that they interact with that put them in dangerous environments because they want to study them or accomplish something or use them for something. Yeah, and so basically you just have this ridiculously powerful breeding mind that is used by everybody else, and that's why they become terrifying, because they have there is no emotion behind them. They just kill because that's what they do.
And I will also say, just before we move, just to conclude that thought, I will also say, if you do love a good crossover that's a little outside of the Alien universe, but still within that realm, Avengers vs. Aliens was a really solid issue 1. That's with Jonathan Hickman and Asad Ribic. It was a great story. They set up so many great things in that. So I thoroughly recommend, if you really like some good xenomorph action, but you want it within a context you haven't seen before, seeing them wreck the Marvel universe, and then you have the small group of survivors years later still trying to win the war, is just both fantastic and heartbreaking on a scale we haven't seen yet. So definitely check that out.
Didn't they do a Wolverine crossover recently? Wasn't it like Wolverine versus Predator or Wolverine?
Yeah, but that's Predator. That's not Xenomorph. Different universe.
No. I didn't realize which one it was, but it's
not.
It's the same universe. Predator.
No.
We know they're together.
No.
Yes,
That's
Predator 2 confirmed it.
Next. We're not doing this. This isn't fan base, the show. Okay, this is Splash Pages. Okay, this isn't debate pages. Okay, save that for high school. Okay.
I'm too old for shit. See.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't want to hear it because we could always flip a coin. So, Carrie, you can take this one.
All right. So, bringing Christian Ward back up again, and DC's All In Initiative. As part of DC's All In Initiative, Two-Face is going to be receiving his first solo series, written by Christian Ward with art by Fabio Veras, colors by Ivan Plasencia, and lettering by Hassan Ostmain Elaho. This series will not be part of the same universe as Ward's Batman City of Madness. It's just going to be a straight up Two-Face miniseries. Two-Face will be hitting your stores December 4th with the main cover art back there by Baldemar Rivas and variant covers from Christian Ward. The next one, and then Leonardo Romero and Chris Samney, and that's just a short and sweet story. They aren't releasing too much about it, so that's something you to look forward to in the DC All In Initiative.
Well,
and there's a little bit of the artwork going on there. It looks gorgeously put together.
Well, again, Carrie, like, do you see this with DC? They're all in. They really are pushing the limits with their stories. I mean, and it's so sad we can't cover every story. Otherwise, this would be, Splash Pages, the Infinity War edition, which is, verging on 3 hours. But, they release this, they're doing a Metamorpho series, they're doing a Challengers of the Unknown. So they're really bringing back kind of like what they were doing with Rebirth. They're really taking their time to really bring back both older characters in a modern context and even ones that don't really get the light of day very often, just to kind of test those waters, to kind of show, hey, we're giving everybody a fair shot here, So.
And how many issues is this going to be, Carrie?
It's a series.
Oh, actually, I lied. I thought it was a mini series. This is actually going to be a full series. I guess.
Ongoing. Okay.
I was, ongoing as far as what's been released so far. So Yeah,
Okay.
that's going to be kind of fun. I mean, with the All-In thing, it's Two-Face's first series on his own. This could go a lot of different ways. I mean, we see him sitting in a courtroom,
Mhm.
and looking like he's being the lawyer instead of a prisoner. So,
Well, yeah, and I think it's also interesting because probably what they're going to do is they'll probably make it as a limited series, and if it does well enough, then it'll be an ongoing. That seems to be DC's prerogative with a lot of them. And I just looked at the
yeah,
first his first case is he's defending Victor Zsasz. I was like, what the hell? Like, jeez, like that's your first case? The guy who he carves a tally in his skin of every victim he's ever taken down. I'm like, good luck, Harvey. Nicely, good
have
luck.
a good time with that.
Yeah, pretty much. Um,
Well,
but yeah, is that another one of those
Uh,
that'll be
mm,
out in probably what, January next year?
just a moment. That will be out December 4th, actually. So
Nice.
go ahead and you can probably get your order in now with your LCS if you want.
yeah.
Yep.
And keep looking for it, guys. There is a shit ton of DC/Batman news coming up tonight.
Oh yeah. A lot of
Yeah,
it.
We've barely gotten started.
yeah, and don't forget. I mean, we have the new Batman series starting soon. But has anybody checked out? I know I just watched it. Shocker. Penguin, the first
No,
episode.
I've heard really good things.
Holy fuck, is that good?
Where is it?
HBO.
Yeah.
So do you have
Um,
Max or is it
Yeah, Max. It's on Max.
okay?
I've
Okay.
heard really good things, especially because Leo, if I'm correct, they introduced Hangman, the Falcone. With Sophia Falcone, they're introducing Hangman, which I'm like, yo, that's a big story. But it fits because those were in the early era of the Batman. So thank you. You got another advocacy for the Penguin being awesome. But yeah, good to know. Thank you, Leo. I will definitely make sure to check that out if I can.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Um,
it's very well written. Colin Farrell, it literally takes place just weeks after the Batman. So it's
right.
yeah, it's very well written. Like I said, just yeah, it's
Mhm.
awesome. Check it out.
Okay.
I urge you, check it out.
Okay.
I just
Next,
discovered that
please.
a squirrel doesn't have thumbs. I'm like, thumbs
I know it.
raise hand.
All right. Continuing our coverage of great things to come out. I've definitely got to bring up what's up for December and my favorite, the Ultimate Universe. There's quite a lot. So I'm going to do my best to get through this very quickly. As the highlights of the second arc of the Ultimates, we're going to see Nick Fury showing up. We're going to see Cult Mutants, Spider Santa Claus, Black Panther, Vibranium in Blood, and more. So we're going to start with the first one being Leo. If you just go back, thank you. This is Ultimate Universe 1 year. This is by Dennis Camp with Jonas Scarf and the cover by Raphael Albuquerque. So this story will take place showing us inside the Maker, aka the original Ultimate Reed Richards gone completely bad, where the Maker, who's kind of the architect of the current Ultimate Universe, he has been stuck in suspended animation in time for about a year. So while the heroes are slowly forming to prepare to battle him for all that, they aren't the only ones. So the clock is ticking down. So this unique one shot is going to be setting up the stage for year 2 of the Ultimate line and will include the debut of two major Ultimate Marvel characters. So this will be free December 11th. The next one is Ultimate Black Panther issue 11 by Brian Hill and Stefano Caselli. Black Panther, and you can see there, I'm fairly certain that is the new apparently Sorceress Supreme for the Ultimate Universe, where continuing the story of Black Panther's war against Moon Knight, becoming more and more complicated, especially since T'Challa learns that he has vibranium in his blood. bringing with it more visions and more mystery as Wakanda's defense becomes two-pronged again in their battle against Ra and Khonshu. So I don't know. I don't know if that Doctor Strange looks like friend or foe. That'll be available December 25th. And the next one, which I can't wait for because everyone knows I'm a sucker for Christmas, Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cicchetto are presenting a Very Merry Spider-Miss. So season greetings from the Parkers. But why is Peter acting so strange in the most wonderful time of the year? What's got Gwen so concerned? This is the conclusion of the second arc and the first year of Ultimate Spider-Man. And considering that very soon we're going to see this Ultimate Spider-Man's first confrontation with his version of the Sinister Six, there's a lot to expect there. So that'll be available December 18th.
I love the stuffed Kingpin in the back.
Yeah,
so beautiful.
That killed me.
Right. Ultimate X-Men 10 by Peach Momoko. We will see the ultimate appearance of Viper. So while this new team of eventually they will be X-Men, a massive raid on the cult known as the Children of the Atom reveals what the Makers Council has been doing with the cult's mutants. What are the figures that they've been keeping prisoner? While Hisako, aka Armor, and her friends are facing a new world order that their raid threatens to leave mutants, unleashed. So this will be available December 11th. And last but not least, Ultimates issue 7. Who are the Ultimates? This starts a new storyline. As we've been seeing over the last couple of issues, the new Ultimates team is being formed, and here they are. This being a perfect jumping on point, where we see that apparently the issue before will have an explosive loss of a major member. So the Ultimates will have a new secret HQ where they're going to regroup and launch their new plan to change the world. So already the Ultimate Universe is playing no games. So that'll be December 4th. So December, closing out the first year of the Ultimates universe. Speaking as somebody who's been reading a lot of it, yet more, please, in 2025. Can't wait. So,
speaking of Christmas, did you see the new trailer for the Captain America Santa Claus movie?
I'm just going to keep drinking.
Oh,
Chris Evans and The Rock are hunting down.
Oh yeah.
Well, not
Where's
hunting
that?
down. Santa Claus was captured, and Chris Evans and The Rock need to find him.
Oh, Red One. Yeah, I've seen
Because-
this.
okay. Quick side note, just because we're drinking on this show, and you mentioned movies.
Mhm.
I was going to watch Beetlejuice, and I was informed earlier today on the epilepsy subreddit that if you are photosensitive, do not go and watch Beetlejuice, or Alien Romulus, because both of those, if you have any photosensitivity whatsoever, are like over 50% of the movie will trigger you. So that has been your epilepsy photosensitivity word of the day.
Thanks, Carrie. That was
Yep.
great. We'll tell you how it is.
You're welcome. Yeah, I want to watch it, but they're like, yeah, couldn't watch. Had a seizure. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, nothing says good time at the movies than a nice little trip to the ER.
Mhm.
Yep. All right.
Fun times.
Leo, I'm really sorry, but yet again, you're on cable duty.
Okay. Listen up, Bubs and X fans. So Marvel is about to send Cable on a time-bending adventure that'll make your head spin faster than Quicksilver on espresso. So yeah, isn't that funny? No. Okay.
No, tell the damn story.
Launching January 2025, Cable Love and Chrome is a 5-issue limited series that's assembling a creative dream team. So David Pepose, the Ringo Award-winning scribe who's been setting the comic world on fire with his work on Punisher and Savage Avengers, and he made Frank Castle relevant again. Like how? And on the art front, we've got Mike Henderson, the visual mastermind behind the gritty streets of Daredevil and the laugh out loud action of Deadpool versus Old Man Logan. So if you love how he made Hell's Kitchen feel like a character of its own, just wait till you see what he does with a dystopian Salvation Bay. So the story, our favorite time-hopping mutant Cable is about to get more than what he bargained for. After a mission in the future goes haywire, so like it's Cable, it has to be, he finds himself stranded in Salvation Bay, a city on the brink of civil war. So it's like Escape from New York meets Days of Future Past with Cable caught in the crossfire. So here's the kicker. We finally diving deep into the techno-organic virus that's been part of Cable's DNA since day one. And if you're an X-Men 97 fan, this is your chance to see the backstory of how that happened. So Propose promises big action, bigger threats, and guns. And what would make even the Punisher jealous with Henderson's knack for kinetic action scenes, you know every page is going to pop like a Deadpool quip. Ha ha. Okay, so whether you're a longtime Cable fan or just love a good sci-fi romp, Cable Love and Chrome #1 is your ticket for temporal mayhem. Again, this is coming out January of 2025.
Okay, nice. There's a lot of Cable stories lately.
So there was some interior art too. Yeah, a little bit of. Are they get okay? So we've had Thor: Love and Thunder, Cable Love and Chrome. Are we going to get like Spider-Man Love and Thwip? Or
I don't know.
Love and Flip or Love and Webs?
Get out.
I like Thwip better, actually. You can have more fun with it.
Love and Thwips.
Or Love and Bamf. Ooh. I'm just having fun.
Yeah. I can tell.
Love and Tormenting Scott Summers. That would be another good one. But okay. That could be used by so many people.
Damn, leave Summers alone, man. He didn't do anything wrong. But Carrie, it's fun. You have the next story, the one that makes absolutely no sense to you. You know, about one of your favorite historical.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, so I saw this and I was like, holy shit, yes, this looks so awesome. Drew, you are my hero. I have an entire shelf devoted to true crime, and a huge chunk of it is dedicated to Jack the Ripper. And I even have like all of this Ripper stuff in my, sorry, Ratatosker, but you got to go down because I have to use both my hands. I have this library of Jack the Ripper information. I lost photographs of crime scene photos of Jack the Ripper stuff inside my family photo album on my computer. I'm so into it. And okay, on sale January 22nd from Dark Horse Comics, we are getting something right up my alley, or maybe an alley in Whitechapel. Only I get that. Set in the future, though, with modern-day England having been transformed into a Victorian theme park due to some wacky Brexit issues, Ripperland is coming to us as a romantic, gore-infused horror mystery miniseries. This is going to be a 4-book series written by Steve Orlando and John Harris, with art and the cover done by Alessandro Oliveri. Colors by Francesca Vivaldi and lettering by Fabio Amelia. Orlando likes to compare to the book to Westworld meets From Hell. And if the cover is anything to go by, this is going to be a beautiful book. I'm super excited about this because I'm all about Jack the Ripper, but the whole thing, and we were like making up songs about Jack the Ripper earlier because that's what I do. It was fun. I had like the first 3 verses I started saying, I was like, oh, wait, wrong. Sorry. Shouldn't do that. But the slight difference is it isn't somebody executing hookers in Whitechapel by cutting off their heads. It's actually America currently is protecting the UK after the Brexit thing. And a U.S. mogul's grandson is murdered, but we don't know who's behind it. If it's the English who are trying to like rise up in a resistance against America? Is it Americans who are against being there and controlling England and trying to like tear down this mogul or tearing down their agreement with Great Britain? We don't know, but American Special Agent Jesse Holden and British police detective Edwin Fogg are going to join forces and help to solve this crime. And yes, it isn't exactly following anything at all about Jack the Ripper except for the fact that it's murder in England. But I'm very excited about it nonetheless, because I'm sure there have to be some references here or there, or they wouldn't have gone with the title that they did. So, yes, please look for this. Once again, like I said, on sale January 22nd from Dark Horse.
I have no words.
You have Jack the Ripper photos in your family photo album?
It was on accident. They were supposed to be in a different one, but I was drag and dropping apparently and missed one of the thing. What kills me is that you asked that they're in my family photo album rather than even wondering that I would have crime scene photos of Jack the Ripper victims on my computer. You're just like, oh, that's a given with Carrie.
Yeah, that's a given.
But I was going through and I was like, I wondered where that went. Jesus, Annie Chapman, come on, you belong over here. It was crazy.
Oh my God. I just, Leo, what's next? I think the next one is me. Good Lord.
Poor Drew.
No, it's not poor me. I knew what I was getting into when I said I wanted to be part of the show. I knew. I accepted it. All right. So we have a weird crossover this Christmas. One that I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around. So Kidpool, who's a variant of Deadpool from a separate universe, is going to be joining forces with Spider-Boy, Bailey Biggs, a.k.a. Spider-Man's somehow forgotten but now relevant again sidekick, in a one-shot that's set to debut on Christmas Day. So this is written by Christopher Yost, the same guy who helped give us X-23. And speaking of, we will be having one of his collaborators, Mike Choi, will be with us next week. So, name drop. This issue will be drawn by Nathan Stockman and an array of soon-to-be confirmed additional artists. Essentially, this is being highlighted as a historic first meet. Kidpool with Spider-Boy. Will the adolescent arachnid be able to keep the murderous middle grader from causing the return of the comics code? Unlikely, but Bailey is going to try. Don't miss the comic that every kid and kid at heart in America is going to be sneakily reading under their sheets with a flashlight. Personally, I don't know about that, but to give you context, this is Kidpool. If you've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, that was the one who was telling Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool to remove Wolverine's phallus out of his mouth, so if he was going to keep talking.
That was Ryan Reynolds' kid also.
I know. That doesn't surprise me at all. So this is the Wade Wilson from Earth 10330, which was introduced in 2010's prelude to the Deadpool Corps as a kid from Xavier's Orphanage for Troubled Boys, who is very fond of wielding what appears to be stolen lightsabers. So we already know Bailey Briggs. He's the child superhero who used to be Peter and Miles' sidekick, erased from existence, restored, he's fighting crime. He was created in 2023's Edge of the Spider-Verse. He has his own series. So that's pretty much all we know. But if you like what you heard, this will be published by Marvel on Christmas. So I don't know. If you've been good, I don't know, spend the money, treat yourself.
How does Kidpool have a beer gut?
It's not a beer gut. That's the way that he's wearing a hoodie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way the hoodie, the pockets.
Yeah, and
it's a pocket. Okay. Yeah, I get.
If you,
I was just like,
his suit's a little baggy too. Like,
he's a kid. He's the mask, hoodie, pants, socks. Like I said,
I'm just used to any Deadpool wearing something skin tight, regardless of their bodily shape. And I was like, that's really odd that Spider-Man would be like, or Spider-Boy, so thank you for explaining that to me.
You're welcome. Trust me, I own the first appearance. So
I'm gonna put the more you know on this thing too. So yay.
The more you know.
You're gonna wish that it wasn't skin tight once you see Deadpool and Wolverine. Peter Pool, like you gotta rip your eyes out.
Hey.
I've watched Deadpool Wolverine.
Hey.
Okay.
Went through it.
You don't dare disrespect Peter. Okay, he's a goddamn national hero. Okay.
I was okay with Peter, man.
No, Carrie, you're great. I'm talking the keyboard monkey, whose story is next about somebody receiving acolytes and whatnot, and he's not even a real person.
And seriously, I spent over 45, like half an hour, 45 minutes coming up with this picture. And so before you put it up, I need to explain this to people. I looked on the fucking Walk of Fame. I used Google Maps. I used all these different things. I searched everywhere because the star is being placed in a specific spot, and I could not find a goddamn picture on the entire internet. And I didn't want to use any image that anybody else used, so that's why you get this. But it really took a lot of research, and I put a lot of work into it.
Thank you, Sassy Pool. Leo?
Okay. So let me pull up the
That's all you get.
Carrie, you did a great job. Great job. Okay. So
you're gonna die.
Holy Hollywood star, Batman. Get ready for a historic moment in superhero and entertainment history. So on Thursday, September 26th, just a couple days from now, the Caped Crusader himself is getting his very own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So Batman, the brooding vigilante of Gotham, if you don't know him, he's about to become the very first superhero ever to be honored with a star. So talk about breaking new ground, and where's this 2,790th star going? It's I think this is awesome. It's going to be right next to Adam West.
And
also co-creator Bob Kane.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Leo, Batman technically won't be there to accept. So who's going to be there to accept it for him?
Well, let me continue. So also Guinness World Records is swooping in to officially recognize Batman as the first superhero with the Walk of Fame star. And let's not forget Batman's other world records: longest running comic book, most adapted comic book character in live action movies, and even the most Oscar winners to play one superhero. Take that, nice. Marvel. So DC's big guns, Jim Lee and the Pies, will be there to witness the Dark Knight's shining moment. And yes, Batman himself will be there in costume. And hopefully he'll smile for the cameras, maybe.
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe smirk, snarl for the cameras. There we go.
There you go.
So also Funko is going to be throwing an all-day event at their Hollywood store. Jim Lee will be doing a meet and greet, and Warner Brothers is setting up a pop-up museum with authentic Batman props and costumes. It's going to be like the Batcave, but with better lighting. So whether you're a diehard Bat fan or just appreciate a good cape and cowl, so this one Hollywood event you don't want to miss if you can even get close to it. So after all, it's not every day you see a superhero get a star unless you're in Gotham. So remember this September 26th. It's going to be a huge event.
2 days. Yeah. If you go to the walkoffame.com, their site, you can actually find a live feed that will be going from there. So if you're unable to make it, you can watch them stream it to you live. And I think it would be really fun after spending so much goddamn time trying to make a fun graphic that ended up not being that great, to get a little like Mego Walk of Fame star. I was trying to like get him brooding. I was going to like have him brooding on a gargoyle and stick a star under his foot, but I couldn't get the angle right. So
it's all good.
I think that would be a fun project for Art Baltazar. Be like,
I'm just annoyed.
You need to do Batman standing on a star.
I'm annoyed by this because this, of course, is on Thursday. And I'm just like, why is Batman stealing my thunder? Like, that's my birthday. Like, what the hell, Batman? Like, God damn it.
Batman.
I know, but it's fine.
Why did they do it on Batman Day?
There you go. You know what? Listen, Carrie, they do not know. But all I know is if I can share the day with Johnny Appleseed and the late, great Shamu the Male, Shamu the whale. Shamu the whale. And
I'm like, who is Shamuth Whale?
Shamu's whale.
Shamuth Whale.
If I can share it
Mazel
with them,
tov.
I can share it with Battle. Yeah, there you go. But Batman, congratulations. You know, I'm sure Superman isn't pissed. So
Oh, Reddit.
mhm. All right. Now, Carrie, I know this one might be a little tough for you, but do your best.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, hold on. Ah, my computer's slowing down.
That's
Yeah, because
okay. We
because
can
it knows
take a minute.
it
I need to breathe.
No,
knows it's past the usual time, Leo. They're like,
no,
we're usually done by now.
I was trying to find my picture of me with Adam West.
Oh,
Okay.
you're on the wrong picture to start mine off with. There
Yeah,
you go.
Yeah,
my computer went
Okay.
it's fine.
far.
Okay. So, for this one, I want you guys to know that Boom Studios has finally released something that disturbs me. Okay,
It's a big,
like seriously, this one fucked with me to put it all together. All right, this is called In Bloom, and per Boom Studios. When the bloom finally happened, humanity was changed forever, transformed by the symbiotic fungal megasystems that infected their bodies. Some of the affected grew new body parts. Some found their personalities changed in radical new ways, while others reported contact with an intelligence that was not of their own. In this bold new world, Agent Spears finds herself investigating a series of mysterious murders, a chain of violence that leads her to a terrifying question on which the very fate of every living being rests. Leo, I want you to go through these pictures because, okay, here we show what's happening basically. Michael Conrad was inspired to write this story after reading an article about humans are host to so many fucking different organisms. And this is real science, folks. Look up human microbiome. That it gave him nightmares. Go on to the next one. This is the next the main cover, but was by John J. Pearson, who is the artist behind this. The cover just before that was Allison Simpson. And this is a team up between Jay Lee and Jun Chung. Okay, the next couple of pictures are going to be some of the interior art. And basically, it's the fungus and stuff that resides inside us becoming sentient, taking over, and starting to grow through and out of people. And I literally, this is one of the only things, there's one more picture of it, but that I have had nightmares about that really fucked with me. Like, I'm fine with people dying, blood, everything. That's just a normal night in Carrie's brain for sleeping. But having fungal spores growing out of my body and trying to like rip them out and fighting with them, that is one of the few nightmares that has been haunting me for almost 30 years now. And it keeps showing up here and there. And so finally, Boom hit me. And like, I am going to have to read this. But guys, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm just a wuss and maybe it's totally different for everybody else, but this is the most horrifying body horror that I can think of. Like, personally for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
No, it's on some Cronenberg level. Like that's some straight up body horror, but this is different. This is like Cronenberg meets Last of Us. You know, this is just
yeah, so I mean, pick this up. It's coming out on December 11th. It's going to be fucking horrifying as far as I can say. And if I'm saying this, then you know it's like if you're into spooky shit, check it out because I am fucking terrified of this book now. I'm gonna read it, but I'm gonna have nightmares because I'm okay with having nightmares because it looks like it's well written. It's just gonna fucking terrify me.
Okay.
So okay. Next.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
well, we're gonna switch back to slightly not terrifying, but might be occasionally scary. As the holidays are coming up, Marvel is of course releasing a Marvel Holiday Tales to Astonish. So this will be out on December 4th. The cover there is by Lee Garrett. Jerry Dugan and Phil Noto are already attached. There's going to be other creators announced. The special will also have a hidden gem variant by the late great John Romita Sr. and also Leonardo Romero. So it looks like we're going to get 3 tales with the Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Spider-Man. So the first one will be, we're invited to the Fantastic Four holiday party, but wait, who are the uninvited guests? In a tale of Hanukkah past, can Kitty Pryde struggle to save the day while shopping for gifts for her merry X-Men? And of course, ring in the new year with Peter Parker and Miles Morales as only the Spider-Man can. So like I said, December 4th, and it looks like Marvel's version of Frosty the Snowman has apparently been doing shots with Krampus, because that's just terrifying.
So I have one question.
Oh no, I hate when you do that. What?
Is there going to be variant covers with B. Arthur and Art Carney?
Next.
A Life Day special?
Next. Sometimes I don't even give you an answer, buddy.
I love us. We're such a super fun, dysfunctional family. We're just great.
Yeah. And I stick with what Keith Champagne said. He said we deserve group therapy. I'm like, you want to pay for it? We'll do it. But
I need to play cribbage with that man. But yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But Leo, this is another Batman for you.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I gave you so many Batmans. I'm like, Leo, Batman, yay!
More Batman, yay! Okay, so DC Comics is about to take us on a journey back to the gritty early days of the Caped Crusader, and I love stories like this. This is going to be like the 3rd this year where they're bringing Batman like back to his roots. So Batman Dark Patterns is going to be a 12-issue series set to unravel 4 mind-bending mysteries that will make even the world's greatest detective scratch his cowl. So at the helm of this noir adventure is Dan Waters and Hayden Sherman. Waters is fresh off his critically acclaimed run on Nightwing, and teaming up with Sherman, whose work on Absolute Wonder Woman left us all in awe. So talk about a dynamic duo. Dark Patterns is channeling the spirit of Batman classics like Year One, Long Halloween. We're talking street-level evergreen mysteries that'll dive deep into Batman's early impact on Gotham. So it's going to be like CSI Gotham, but with more capes and gadgets and less sunglasses.
Yeah, they already had that. It's called Gotham Central. But
yeah. So Waters is promising to explore the strange, pulpy side of Batman we all love. Sherman's art is set to bring the gothic Gotham to life with the covers that will make you want to frame every issue. And for you variant cover collectors, Steve Subik is cooking up something special. We actually have, I think that's there.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I know you had a separate one, Carrie, for the,
Oh, these look fantastic.
Yeah, that's all the interior art. It looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
But that Steven Stubik cover is just kind of wow. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the other thing that's really great about this is that it's Batman trying to crack 4 mystery cases. You got self-contained street level mysteries, and it's just every story that it's kind of based on, Year One, Long Halloween, Dark Victory, that's all Batman in Year 1 and 2. So this is that early Caped Crusader. This is the world's greatest detective. So we're going to see more of that, and it's just going to be fantastic. I'm thoroughly pumped for this.
Yeah, I'm going to need to put this on my full list. So December 11th is when we see issue number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman Dark Patterns.
Dark Patterns. All right. Nice.
Yeah. So I wonder, it says it's going to be 12 issues, 4 mysteries. So I'm assuming that's going to be, you know, a mystery every like 4 issues will probably be like an arc and maybe like an overall.
No, Leo, it's 4. It'd be every 3 issues.
Yes, sorry, math. Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, I was like, wait a second. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for correcting me. It's
You're welcome. I know it's getting late.
it is.
So yes. So what's next?
Next is
Carrie, it's time.
This is fun for me.
Oh yes, we know you're not
Let
afraid.
my serial killer self shine. All right. So Dark Horse is also going to be releasing a new Kyle Stark series, Those Not Afraid, on January 8th, with art by Patrick Piazzalunga, colors by Marco Baracco, and lettering by Jim Campbell. This 4-issue miniseries is for true crime fans. Starks, who is a huge true crime fan, got the title of the series from a quote from Richard Ramirez, better known as the Night Stalker. The title for Those Not Afraid draws from a chilling quote from pure evil serial killer Richard the Night Stalker Ramirez. We've all got the power in our hands to kill, but most people are afraid to use it. The ones who aren't afraid control life itself. The premise behind this is that 2 serial killers are in competition with each other to break the state record for the most kills, toying with each other and the police. Piazzalunga is thrilled with the material that Starks is given him to work with. It's much darker than anything he has ever gotten to do before. And this is the main cover by Glenn Fabry. And the variant cover next over is by Piazzalunga himself. Again, this comes out on January 8th, and it sounds like so much goddamn fun. This is just going to be a dark, delightful dip into death. So, yeah. I'm joining you with this. You want to. Look out, Richard Ramirez over there, too. Are you surprised?
Well, no, but also, I mean, when we spoke to Kyle Starks, which that interview will be up eventually on our YouTube page, so definitely keep an eye out for that. He did hint that he was definitely having something that he was working on, because we told him about how much of a fan we were of some of his more horror work. And he's definitely got some stuff in it. He loves the genre, and this is just going to be freaking great. So if you really want to see a cat and mouse competition game between killers and police, check this stuff out, man. Like, yeah.
Don't forget chefs, because I mean, you knew he was going to snap one day. I mean, that's obviously Gordon Ramsay, right? For all the yelling he's done, you knew he was going to snap and start killing.
I thought it was an early Gary Busey. Actually,
No, that is totally Gordon Ramsay.
That's Busey.
Okay, I thought it was pre-stroke Gordon. I thought it was pre-stroke Gary Busey. I'm like, or Martha Stewart. Like maybe they had a clone child.
No.
I don't want to.
We do not speak of Gordon of Gary Busey here. I got a story about him. I cannot share that on air, so it's
no, you cannot. Okay. And I've heard that story, and you cannot. So that's for Splash Pages After Dark, kids. So
you all lose.
Never. So all right, let's switch gears. What's the next one? Because I feel like we're coming near the tail end of our and everyone, if you're still with us, thank you so much for staying with. This is running a little longer than our usual show, but there was so much news that we just knew, you know.
Oh, so much news, and our interview ran a little late. So
we had a wonderful time with Stuart. It was awesome.
Yes. So
have him back.
This is my last story of the night. So I'm very excited for this because it's going to be great. Deadpool and Wolverine, the comic book. So, as we've seen, this is literally the top movie of the year. Billions made at the box office. So it really shouldn't surprise you that Marvel's like, hey, let's make that a thing. So we already saw when they were Deadpool, Wolverine, World War III. So that did pretty well. So now it's the main course, Deadpool/Wolverine, a new ongoing monthly series continuing their adventures of Logan and Wade, which is going to reunite Benjamin Percy, who we had the pleasure of interviewing at Terrificon, and his X-Force collaborator, Joshua Cassara, together to deal with Wade and Logan cutting through the Marvel world, and eventually brought to deal with a returning X-Men villain and new revelations about their shared history. So,
I got some shade
apparently,
history too.
yeah, I know you do. So apparently, Percy and Cassara are huge fans of each other. They really hit it off working on X-Force, and apparently that they are like best bros. They're texting, hanging out on cons, trading stupid jokes. Apparently, he even helped his wife locate one of those elusive 12-foot Home Depot skeletons. So these two, Carrie, these guys are right up your alley. They celebrate Halloween like a boss. So
I saw one of those, but it was a scarecrow.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah.
So basically, they're just saying that there's going to be no shortage of blood and gore in this series, that it's a never-ending action movie. So basically, they've influenced, been by classic 80s movies like Commando and Rambo First Blood Part 2. So put that in context of these two. So nonstop, insane action, set pieces, 80s action movie precedents. Like basically, Percy said he wants you to feel like you're going to see Stallone, Schwarzenegger, or Van Damme are going to show up at any point. So they promised the return of a major X-Men villain in issue 1, and that once that reveal hits, we're going to have a better idea of what the series is going to be like. So this is going to be released January 2025. So I am super pumped. So, I mean, again, Percy has been working with Logan forever, so he's got a great understanding of the character, and I'm interested to see what he does with Deadpool. So, should be great. Done.
And I would just add the 2008 Rambo movie is much bloodier than Rambo 2.
That's fine. Thank you for your additional note to my thing, Mr. Bond.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. So we are in the last round. So these are the last three. So Leo, what's up with Star Wars?
The final countdown.
Yep, you're off, Terry.
Okay.
I started.
Bad Batch.
I finally figured out what that meant when I made this. I had no idea. And then I'm like, oh, clones, batch. Wow. Okay. So anyway.
Oh, you didn't watch the... Never mind.
No. Leo, just go.
I'm not you, Leo.
The Bad Batch show was actually really good. But I didn't... After they... I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So, I've said this before. Nobody is I'm not going to say it. I'm going to get in trouble. So if you're a Star Wars fan that actually enjoys Star Wars, get ready for some clone excitement, because the Bad Batch is about to blast their way into the world of comics. Hopefully it's a prequel. If never mind, I'm not going to say it. So Dark Horse is unleashing Star Wars hyperspace stories, The Bad Batch Ghost Agents, a 5-issue miniseries that's guaranteed to be more explosive than a thermal detonator or one of the many Death Stars that we've seen throughout this series. Drew,
just keep going.
I'm not going to ask.
Yeah. Okay.
Just keep going.
So, set during the Clone Wars, the series is bringing our favorite defective clones back into action. So, at the helm of the mission is Michael Morecki, the mastermind behind the Star Wars hyperspace stories and Burning Fields. So, if you loved his previous Star Wars work, then we're in for a wild ride. So, joining him is going to be artist Reese Hannigan, known for his gritty work on Black Spot and Terminus. And this is going to be a perfect match for the rough and tumble clones. So the mission this time is our boys from Clone Force 99. They're hot on the trail of a mysterious Separatist ghost agent who pulled off a heist on Coruscant. So we're talking seedy underworld dealings, kingpins, thugs, and danger at every turn. So it's going to be like Ocean's 11 meets Star Wars Clone Wars. And let's not forget the art, Valera Lux Fogaki, and I know I said that totally wrong, who's wowed us with her work on Stranger Things. She's bringing her A game to the cover art. Plus, we've got French Carlo Magno cooking up some variant covers that'll make you want to enlist in the Grand Army of the Republic. So mark your calendars for January 15th, 2025. That's when issue 1 hits shelves. And yeah, I mean, you're who's not a Bad Batch fan? Like, yeah.
Oh, no, I'm asking a question.
I thought you were saying I'm not a fan. Go for it.
I'm not, but that's why I have a question. Ratatosker wanted to know. So, are there 99 squads of Bad Batches?
No.
Or
no.
Are they named that for a specific reason?
I don't know why they're named the 99, but it could be just a number that they were given. But the Bad Batch is just one squad, and it's just defective clones. So it's just in the cloning process. There was an issue cloning them.
Okay, so the Empire, rather than just destroying a defective product, was like, we'll fucking throw them together and have fun. Like, because they were like,
but it was before the Empire.
We don't want to waste anything. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the Republic. So it's the during the Clone Wars. So the Empire wasn't up and running yet. They were just in the shadows, you know.
Okay. All right. That's all we wondered. Because I was just like, Bad Batch, clones, I finally understand. Okay, then. And Ratahusker's like, but there's more. You need to know about this. And I'm like, yes, I do. Thank you. If it wasn't for my emotional support, drunken puppet squirrel, I don't know what I would do in life.
Yeah, I wonder that too.
Well, I know Brandon has a lot to say about this, but if you watch the Bad Batch show, it's really good. Okay. But you have one clone that is like oversized and he's just a big brute. You have one that lost an eye or is missing an eye, but he's like a sharpshooter. You have one that for some reason is like super intelligent. And then you have, their leader. So all of them, have some sort of like defect, but it makes them like better in some reason. But they're protecting another clone, and they all have Australian accents because when you clone somebody, you're also cloning the accent.
Yes. I do recall I do recall Brandon mentioning at one point in time that if it has an Australian accent, it is a clone.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Exactly.
Or maybe the reverse of that, but yeah.
Yeah. But essentially it's Boba Fett's sister. So it's
Leo.
Yeah.
You can tell her we have one more story and then we're done. And of course it's there.
Oh, why wouldn't it be? I decided to end this. So here's the deal, guys. All right. Holidays are coming up. First, my birthday, Halloween. Buy me shit. By the way, if you just text me, you can go to the GoFundMe to get all of the horror comics that I would like in one giant bundle. I'll let you know. So anyway, on December 18th, Skybound's Creepshow 2024 Holiday Special will be arriving at your local comic book shop with 2 tales to terrify you for the holiday season. Strangely enough, though they're all singing carols and wearing Christmas hats, these stories both are written about New Year's Eve parties. So, with writers Teenie Howard, Blake Howard, and Rob Williams, art by Steven Subik and Piper, cover art by Martin Morazzo, and next over, Chris O'Halloran, along with a variant cover by Steve Beach. This is set to help you ring in the new year. You know what? I'm just going to read the official synopsis and practice my spooky voice. The Creepshow 2024 Holiday Special promises fans a horrifying holiday season with 2 terrifying stories. First, a New Year's Eve party gets fiendish as Teeny Howard, Blake Howard, and Steven Subic will have you crying for your mummy in the new year. Then Rob Williams and Pi Par will revisit a holiday classic with beloved comedian Terry Reno that quickly takes a shocking turn before a live studio audience. Oh, the holidays wouldn't be the same without a cheerful dose of horror, mayhem, and cannibalism, Creepshow series editor Ben Abernathy said. Our annual Creepshow holiday special is a treat to be enjoyed with you and your loved ones. Volume 3, Issue 4 releases as well, but that has nothing to do with the holidays, so we'll cover it later. And that's all I've got for this one, folks.
I'm good.
Oh,
Are we done yet?
no.
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk about that time when we were driving to Terrificon when
we're
the
not.
guy passed you. Oh,
No,
we're not? How about
No.
when we were in Leo's basement and no?
No.
How about when I sat outside and watched for bats because Leo hadn't made it home yet and I couldn't figure out how to get into his basement and I
No.
thought that I was on Bat Patrol and it was a really serious thing, so I just sat there and stared at the garage while I was smoking?
All right, cool. So that was a great story. So
That's not the basement.
no. Okay, so that's it on news.
I just love
everybody.
annoying Drew.
So that's it on news, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. We really shouldn't be drinking and potting, but here we are. So thank you so much for joining us. If you really enjoyed what you saw of Stuart's work, I'm sure Leo has his information on the show below, so that's there. And definitely stay tuned for next week. We're going to have artist Mike Choi is coming back. We're going to talk to him about his work on X-Force and X-Men, as he's been listed as one of the top 10 greatest X-Men artists. Super great guy. We got a lot of great stuff with him. And please stay tuned because we have a stellar month of guest stars for October. So I would definitely make sure you leave your Tuesdays booked.
Totally. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening, and you know how to find me. Just Google me. But Drew is right. I do have all the information for Stuart in the show notes up above or down below, along with all of our information as well. And like Carrie said earlier in the show, go check out our YouTube page. We're putting up a lot of extra content, and we've already hit 600 subscribers, so we're on to 700. So go help us out. It definitely, definitely helps. We totally appreciate that. And with that, we'll kick it over to Carrie.
Hey, and okay, Leo just said that I mentioned it before, but seriously, you guys have no idea how much work Leo has been putting in to getting us new content up. We had all of the different shows and panels and interviews and talking times going on at Terrificon and all of the stuff that we're doing now. And he tries to get up cover things and all of this stuff. So please pay attention to our YouTube. He is putting up new stuff every goddamn day pretty much. And it's just out of control. It's crazy. It's fun. Please direct your friends and neighbors there. Have them come hang out with us. We'll all be friends. We'll get a big group hug together. If you want to find anything else about me, look at Carrie Sanders, just spelled just like that on Facebook. If there's a big crow on there, that's me. I do shows here. I write things. I have an author page there. I'm on the Owlite Network where we do a bunch of different shows there. One of which is Tomb of the Terrible, and I am tormenting everybody in my life this entire fall season. The people over at Owlite are being particularly tormented by me making it be Amityville Horribles month. So it's all offshoot Amityville, well, not month, season. The entire fall season is like 3 months of terrible Amityville movies. Next Monday will be Amityville Exorcism, 2017 movie that is absolutely terrible. Please go watch it, feel bad, or don't watch it and watch us tell you how bad it was so that you didn't have to. But yeah, check out everything Leo's been doing, man. It's crazy. It's awesome. Over to Drew again, because we like to hang out with him. But but Leo, you can talk too, because you know.
Thank you. But
You're the guy.
before we go to Drew, we got Jar Jar. You got anything to say?
Oh yeah,
Jar Jar, we can't hear you. You're on mute, buddy. You're on mute. Okay. Drew.
All right. So do you remember when we used to just do the podcast and not drink? No? Good times. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm Drew Malo, Ghostbuster 1984 on the Insta. You want to follow that? I've been posting some pretty good memes there. I'm very busy. I'm doing things. So just hit me up. I'll get back to you. I can't say when, but I know it will happen. And then will now be then soon. Thank you.
I'm just
Who
wondering.
we
when
have
you-
next week?
Mike Choi.
Take a sip. Okay. Oh, I thought you were going to do like a big and you already did do the big, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm behind. I was at then, so I haven't caught up to now yet. So then it will be, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for sticking around. This has all been a very great but weird dream. So I would definitely more melatonin. And have a good rest of the night and pleasant nightmares.
There we go.
Thank you all.
We'll catch you later. And Drew still hasn't realized that I changed the banner. We'll catch you
No,
later.
I did not.